Hi, and welcome to Thursday with the Friend. My name is Lawrence, also known as a Punk with Toys or Punk. And today, my very special guest, Mr. Action Figs. Did I say that right?
Yes, you did.
Mr. Action Figs himself, Ed. I feel weird always calling you Action when you get to know someone personally.
It's all good. I go by Ed most of the time.
I know some people don't like having their name, plastered out there.
Yeah.
Some people don't like to have their face and everything. So
No,
that was the
all
one thing
good.
I said when I did this. Like, it has to be face to face. Well, as
Oh,
face
yeah.
to face. I don't want to be talking to an avatar or a blank screen for 2 hours.
It'd be interesting. Maybe you should try it.
I thought. Am I there?
Was that you or was that me?
StreamYard just kicked me out for no apparent reason whatsoever. Like, I was just. It wasn't even frozen. It just, boom. Just out.
Oh,
Something unexpectedly went wrong. So. All right, well, you know how to host a show. You
yeah.
do it every Tuesday.
I'll run with it.
And you went for 3 hours.
Yeah.
I was very happy, very impressed.
3 hours is nothing, dude.
And your co-host didn't show up till like the last half hour with his avatar and sunglasses.
Yeah. He said he was playing a video game. I think he was really sleeping.
Well, his excuse was he was playing a video game and lost track of time. Like,
Yeah.
you're doing a show.
Chances are he was sleeping. He's a teenage boy.
Do they sleep at this? I mean,
well, he's been out stargazing for the last week or so because trying to catch the comet and everything else going on in the sky. So
okay.
So he's probably been up till like 4 or 5 in the morning trying to catch that stuff.
Yeah, well, I do remember that at 18.
Yeah.
Yes, Matthew, I am back. I just got dumped. And then you saw when I came back on, there was like 2 of me. Yeah, one was frozen. So, just strange. Anyway, so if you're just tuning in, if you've never seen this before, this isn't really a toy talk. This is a show to get to know Ed. Obviously, if you watch some of the other shows that I've done, some of them we gotten pretty deep. Some of them have been joking. We've gone into basketball. We've gone into video games.
We're gonna have it all in this. We're gonna have drama and crying and laughing. We're gonna have it all. Anger. Get you backed up on those steroids. Get you all angered up.
You guys don't know this is already pre-recorded. That's how we know what's coming. So if it's pre-recorded, how will we know what we're going?
Lauren sent me a script. It's like the original Muppet movie where they read the script to figure out how to beat the bad guy.
It's like the Ahsoka show. Yeah, right. You say a line, stop, count 1, 2, 3.
Yes.
Then you say your next one.
Pause for effect.
Yeah. So your age range would be?
I am 50.
50. So I'm 47. So we're in the same rough category. Now, I heard a lot of stuff you were talking about this week. So, but then again, I also got to know you. So where did you grow up at? And what was your family life?
I grew up about 15 minutes from where I live right now. So I live about 35 minutes south of Buffalo in New York. And I grew up in a little town called Delavan, which had not even one stoplight. And basically, if you blinked, you missed the town.
And you probably still got just as much snow as the rest of Buffalo does.
We get more snow than Buffalo where I live, actually. We are actually in the snow belt where the ski country is, where all the downhill ski slopes are and stuff. So everybody talks about Buffalo just because it's the closest city, but we actually get more snow than Buffalo.
Now, are you closer to Canada or? Because isn't Buffalo right by Canada?
Yeah, Buffalo is only like 10 minutes from Canada.
Okay.
About a 45-minute drive for me to
No,
get.
you're on so then you're on the opposite side, I would assume.
Yeah.
Okay.
South.
Yeah, kind of like
Canada's up here, up in the north. I know it's different in the Michigan because you got the UP that fucks everything up there. But Canada's still above us, no matter which way you go.
Well, Canada's also to the.
I guess it could be to the left.
Yeah,
right.
Technically,
west.
We are above Canada at one point.
Yep.
Yeah. So, we always make the joke about that you can actually be above Canada. But I would make the joke like I'm closer to Canada than Ohio, and I see people crossing the border and they were getting the Tiger Force GI Joes, and I'm like, don't give me distribution because they're literally right there.
Yep.
So, did you grow up with any siblings? And how?
So when I was a toddler, my real father died in a car accident. And there was me and my brother who's older than me, who's 2 years older than I am. And my mom got remarried when I was probably like 3 or 4. And he adopted me and my brother. And then they had my sister who's like 5 years younger than me.
So do you mind me asking how old your father was when he passed away?
27.
Well, how old were you though?
18, almost 2 years.
Okay, so you probably don't have much memory.
No, I have zero memory.
So
my brother has a little bit, but he was like 4. So
how do you feel about him adopting you? Does that?
I've never known any different. So, for me, it's not a big deal. For my brother, it's not a big deal because we just don't know any different. I mean, he was 4. I was barely just going to be 2 and turning 2. So
that's very interesting.
Yeah.
My mom passed away when I was 13. So, I mean, I have very, very, big memories of her. And my dad didn't get remarried for years anyway. But I've always wondered that. I mean, I raised my stepdaughter since she was 5, and
the hardest part I think for me now is like, with my real dad's side of the family, there was only one other boy besides me and my brother, so like that whole name is basically done, and like they changed my whole name. When I was born, I was Lyle Edward Button III, and then when I got adopted, since my mom wanted, I don't know what the fuck she was thinking, but anyway, she changed my name to Edward Lyle, so she reversed my middle and my first name and made me Edward Lyle Kozak. So
wow, that's interesting. That is really interesting. So I would assume obviously you have your stepfather, and I don't want to say your stepfather, but his last name, I would assume you ended up taking. Okay.
Yeah. Everybody's like, oh, your last name's like Polish or whatever. When it's not. It's Ukrainian, but I have none of it in me. I'm English, Irish, and Italian. So
yeah, I wouldn't have seen Polish. I mean, my ex, her last name is very. When someone explains it to you and you like say it, you're like, oh, that makes sense. But no one can figure out how to spell it. Even to this day, I have to spell it in a row. Like if you said, hey, where does the K come in? I'd be like,
Yeah. I worked with a couple of guys like that where my last job was. It's like, how do you spell that again? His last name, the one guy's last name was Ilkuski is how you pronounced it. But the last like 7 letters were all consonants with a couple of Z's in there. And I'm like, that makes no sense.
Yeah, you see that a lot. Again, my ex, her last name. And the funny thing about my ex is that her brother played professional baseball. And when she would say, who she is and, that her brother plays professional baseball, she's like, people would look at me and go, your brother's not Ken Caminiti. And she'd go, I didn't say it was. That's not even my last name. Just because they couldn't figure out her last name. It's just like, I never said that's who it was. Like, that's not even our last name. So, but that is real interesting. And, good for him. I mean, hopefully it was good for you.
Yeah.
I mean,
He
it
was
doesn't.
he was a tough guy to grow up with. I mean, he was, he came from a farm. He was a mechanic his whole life. A little bit rough, but maybe the guy that I am today. So
And you know what? That's I say that all the time. Everything I went through, I'm like, it made me who I am today. And since I like who I am, I
yep,
wouldn't change it because who knows where you would end up.
that's right.
I think a lot of people have such a bad or feel they have such bad childhoods. They
My brother
struggle.
and I have talked about like how different our lives would be had he not passed away. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
um, he was an animal. I mean, my real dad, like, he was born with one leg that was shorter than the other, and then when he got to be a teenager, he was the type of guy, and of course, I was the same way when I was a teenager. But like, if you dared him to do something or bet him to do something, he would just do it, and he continued that on through his life, and that's how he ended up getting into a car act, getting killed in a car because there was a road about half an hour from here where they grew up, and where my mom and him lived when we were little, and somebody dared him to take this like 90-degree turn at 7,500 miles an hour, whatever it was, and he drove. He had a '49 Mercury that was chopped, all hot rodded out and everything else, and he drove right through a house.
Oof.
Yeah, he didn't make the corner, but I mean, there was those 2 years before this. I guess he was dared to lay down in the road and play chicken with the cars, and of course, with his short leg, he couldn't get up fast enough, and a car hit him and broke his other leg. So, that's just the
I'm,
kind of guy he was. So, I mean,
I'm trying not to laugh.
it's fine.
Like, it's so tragic. But I say before, like, if you don't laugh at things, like,
Yeah.
like
Like I said, he was an animal. He lived the way he wanted to live and went out the same way, right? Like James Dean,
that's
right? Live fast, die young, have a good looking corpse.
that's and his friends made fun of him because of his short leg. He wasn't able to get up, so he got hit by a car.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
then again, if you lay down in the street and you get hit by a car, you're gonna get made fun of.
Yeah.
Oh, look, the Helen Dope mug. Must be nice to have one.
Oh, yeah, look at that. Isn't that nice? It's even got my name on it.
So you end up having a younger sister. You said that's the only sibling, the only child they had together.
Yep.
How much younger is she than you?
5 years.
Okay. So just that age that she's going to be a pain in the ass.
Oh, she was a horrible pain in the ass.
My sister was 6 years younger than me, so
But like when we got older, probably like teenage years, me and my brother kind of parted ways. We kind of, I wouldn't say grew apart, but like he was hanging out with a certain type of people and I was hanging out with a certain type of people. And so I got closer to my sister when I, like freshman, sophomore year.
yeah, I don't think my kids are gonna be. They're like 2.5 years apart, or 3.5, I think, something like that.
Well, that's how my kids are. My oldest is 24, and then our middle child's going to be 21. And those two girls don't get along at all. But then Luke, who's just turned 18, is only 2 years younger than the next oldest one, and they're like best friends.
Yeah, and it's straight. It's crazy because Andrew is a senior, Olivia is a freshman, so it's the first time they're back in school together. Of course, they have homeroom together.
Oh, geez.
And like the school, they go to two different schools. There's two different. There's this.
Two different campuses.
Yeah, because like the one has like all the advanced classes, radio and TV classes. So both of them are over there. My daughter for advanced, my son for like radio and TV and stuff. And there's other kids from other schools that come there. So they only had to go to the regular school right away and then go there. And Andrew's like, I don't want her talking to me. And I'm like, why do you think she want to talk to you? Like, you've seen Olivia. Like, you've seen how she is. Like, that girl don't care. Like, she comes in with face painted on.
Yeah. All my sister's friends wanted to date me, so it was kind of like a bad thing for a while. That was the worst part,
When they're that young.
Yeah, like I was a senior in high school, so they're in like 8th grade, and they come over like to stay the night with my sister or whatever, and they were always like, I'd be hanging out with my friends in my room, and they all come in and like try to hang out with us. It's like no.
Yeah, that's that age now. Yeah.
Yes, Radnom. I am a mug elitist.
Yes, yes. Random diarrhea here. Uh, all right, so you're obviously going around the same age that I am. What toys, like growing up, like obviously, I would assume you and your brother probably shared a lot of interests at that age because you have a built-in friend 2 years apart.
Yeah, but not too much actually. My brother was very into cars, toy cars, and
Okay,
things like that, and I was absolutely into action figures.
so like
So
Hot Wheels, Matchbox, or
yeah,
models.
those and the bigger ones, like the back then, they like you could go to any store and buy those like 1/18th, 16 scale, like plastic. They're all plastic, different
Are you
cars.
talking about like the big Dukes of Hazard, General Lee, and
Yeah, like the plastic ones that were made. Like
the,
Nylint used to make them all.
yeah, the Smash and
Yeah, and then when he got a little bit older, like when he turned like 7 or 8, he was into like models. Of course, my dad was really into building models. Like um, he had tons of them from when he was a kid. Like from the '60s, like old models that he built. He was a car guy though. I mean, he was a mechanic
yeah.
his whole life. He was a car guy. So my brother kind of gravitated towards that. Like, you know, they go out to the garage and my dad would teach him how to do brakes and how to do, oil changes and stuff when he was like 7, 8 years old. I was like, screw that. I ain't going out to the garage.
So what? Now I've heard some of the stuff you've talked about. So what did you like? What toys did you first gravitate to? Because you've talked about some of the toys that I would not have been into.
So the first toys that I can really remember playing with, besides, like the Fisher Price Little People, which all of us had, would probably be like the Fisher Price Adventure People was probably like my first action figures that I had. And I had
And
a
those,
shit ton of them.
and those all started as like the
They're all 3 3/4.
okay.
That's
That's
that's the actual first 3 3/4 action figure ever to be marketed.
that's what I thought, but I didn't know if there was maybe larger ones too. So
No,
okay, because I had the boat. I loved the boat. Like that boat, it
yeah,
survived a
the
long
vehicles
time.
were amazing. I still have my Fisher Price Adventure People ambulance, or it's called the rescue truck. I have the Sea Shark, which is the boat that comes with the shark and the scuba divers, and then my space shuttle for when I was a kid.
The only thing I remember having was the boat and the two swimmers in the yellow outfits. But I remember a friend of mine. He had a little plane that you
Yep.
could cram the figures into.
Yeah.
I can't really say cram them, but they didn't fit as good
Well,
as
you
you.
had to finagle them in there.
Yeah. So I don't. I mean, I think everyone played with Adventure People, or most of us our age, but it
Yeah.
was never like our go-to. So, was there a go-to that you went to? That was there anything that you really got into?
So I did Adventure People completely when I was a kid until I found the Mego superheroes. Then I
Okay.
went nuts for the Mego superheroes. Had a shit ton of those. You know, um, my one uncle is a really big comic book guy, so he was always talking about Batman and all the comic book characters and stuff. Mostly DC. I wasn't really ever into Marvel. I was always a DC guy, but I had all sorts of Batman, Robin, and Aquaman, Superman, all them. And then Mego went to the pocket size superheroes, and I stuck with those. And then that was pretty much it, other than Eagle Force. I got really heavy into Eagle Force, had the entire Eagle Force. Yeah, the 2-inch die-cast ones. I had everything. I had all the figures, the Jeep, the tank, the Eagle Force Island, all of it.
I love the Eagle Force figures. They were so cool. And again, like GI Joes were great because you could just take a whole bunch with you wherever you went.
Yep.
With Eagle Force, it was like, for the most part, you almost lost the weapons as like day you got.
Yeah, well, they were tiny for sure. I had some GI Joe Adventure Team, the 12-inch ones that were still around when I was young, and then Super Joe. I had some of those too, but
yeah, you guys are talking about Super Joe.
yeah,
on Tuesday, and I don't
Yep.
remember like anything of Super Joe. I mean, I can look it up. And
Super Joe was really, really limited. I mean, like really limited. But it was probably, so you were born, let's see, you're 47. So you were born what, 76, 77?
I was born right before 76. So I'm born 75, but 3 days before.
Right. So Super Joe was out from like 1 year of 1978. That was it. So you probably weren't even old enough to acknowledge it.
So, I mean, G.I. Joe came out. Well, when did Star Wars come out? 79?
Yeah, 77, 78.
So when did the figures come out?
Same year, Christmas, I think 78 is when the first Star Wars was
really?
out.
Gosh, I cannot believe it's. So you would have been. That would have been a prime time for you, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, I got into Star Wars after Super Joe, and I mean, I was really actually more into the Mego stuff still because I didn't see Star Wars until probably 1981 when my grandparents got cable TV and it was on HBO. That was the first time I ever saw Star Wars.
Wow.
So like I had storybooks and I knew, like everybody in school knew about it, so I had figures and stuff, but I only had, a handful of figures. My parents weren't rich. I mean, my mom didn't work and my dad was a mechanic. So, I mean, we, didn't get a lot of shit. So,
it never really dawned on me how long Star Wars had been out when G.I. Joe came out. And there was really a short time frame that they overlapped each other.
Yep.
So, did you ever get into G.I. Joe then?
Yeah, I was at the, I laugh because like back when we were kids, staying a kid until you were 10 or 12 years old was okay back then.
Yeah.
Now we want kids to stop playing with toys when they're 5, it's like, then we wonder why toys aren't selling. But, like I was 10 when the first G.I. Joes came out. It was 1983.
Yeah.
So I was 10 years old. And the first one I got was, I got Grunt and I got, drawing a blank on his name. Who was the original guy that came out with the mortar launcher?
Short Fuse.
So I got those two were my first two real American heroes. And I had a cousin who's the exact same age as I am. And then there was my brother. And then we have a cousin that's a couple years younger than I am. So that year for Christmas, all of us got Joes. And I mean, I got Joes I played with Joes probably another 2 or 3 years before I really stopped buying them, and asking for them for Christmas and stuff.
So did you instantly break the thumb on any of them?
No, I was old enough not to do that. My younger cousin did.
Yeah.
His dad was constantly super gluing thumbs back on for that kid.
That never worked. At least for me, it never worked.
Not for very long, anyway.
I was pretty good with not breaking as many as a lot of the other kids. Because once you saw, kind of like when I do my reviews, and I'm like, don't try and be He-Man and force it because, well, it's stupid. So you said you had about 3 years playing with Joes.
Yep.
Did you play with Motu or anything like that? Because
I only had 2 Masters of the Universe figures that were actually mine. I had Manny Faces and I had Mackinac. No, Buzz Off. What was the dude? Stratos. That was his name. I didn't have Buzz Off. Buzz Off was the Beagle. Stratos. My cousin that was 2 years younger than me, 3 years younger than me, he had, all of it. Castle Grayskull, all the He-Man figures. So I'd go over and play with his stuff. But
yeah, I never had a lot of. I had a lot of Motu figures. I never had too many of the vehicles or the play sets. But a friend of mine had it, and I gotta say, like, they were so much fun because they were swappable and not like the G.I. Joes where you had to take them apart.
Yeah. I got lucky as a kid because, like with the Fisher-Price Adventure people, there's never any play sets, but there's tons of vehicles.
Yeah.
But the figures were actually designed in the same scale as their doll houses. So, I had an extra neighbor that was my age, but she was a girl. So she had all the doll houses. So we'd play outside together. And it was just, my Fisher-Price Adventure people and her dollhouse. And,
see, that's fine. So I like what Largo says here. I got teased a lot for collecting superpowers because I was too old for toys. Comic book geeks had it rough back then.
I got into superpowers hardcore when that came out. I still have my original Batmobile and my original Robin. I got into that hardcore when that came out.
You must have, I mean, come 85, you're what?
I was 12.
You're 12, so you think that at that point, like you're starting to not play with toys. You're in middle school.
I never didn't play with toys.
Oh, you never did?
No. I have had and collected, purchased, played with toys. The only time I haven't is the 3 months that I was in basic training for the Army.
Okay, so see, this is gonna be interesting when we get here. Okay, so you go through middle school, you're still collecting toys. You get into high school.
Yep.
Now I know when I got into high school, I still kept my GI Joes. I still had a lot of them placed and everything, but for me, it was skateboarding. Everything was skateboarding. Again, I don't know if you were, I forget what stream it was on, but I was talking about the whole Grace Jones thing when my buddy stayed the night, and he was grabbing my Joes and just had the night of all nights. So they were always there, but I didn't collect as much. But again, as a skateboarder, we were getting picked on as much as any toy collector.
I got really big into the Gabrielle 3 3/4-inch Lone Ranger line too. I had all those figures and horses. Those are nice figures.
I still have my original Tonto and Lone
Scout.
Ranger.
Oh, Lone Ranger, yeah.
Yeah. I don't have the horses anymore.
I don't have any of it anymore, but I love that line. But
they're actually not that expensive.
No, they're not. They're not.
Which kind of bums me out because I'm like, why can't this figure be worth $1,000? But I still have those two original. I don't have the horses. And I know I had a few more because I have a little story about that.
So like growing up where I grew up, I was a real cocky son of a bitch. Let's put it that way. Okay. I played football. I did it all, right? Like in my school, it was not cool to be in marching band and chorus and also play football, but I did. Right. So me having an action figure collection was nothing for anybody to even think about when they came to my house. Right.
I think that's funny because I remember in high school, it seemed like the popular kids couldn't be smart honor roll kids too.
Right.
Which never made any sense to me. Even though there were some, but if any of them were like the smart ones, they were like the low end popular kids.
Yep. Had to play stupid if you wanted to be cool.
Which still to this day doesn't seem to.
I did. I mean, I passed all my school from probably 7th grade to 12th grade with never doing any of the actual work and still passed because I could just do good on the test because I knew all the stuff. But
I passed everything.
I pretended to be stupid and lazy because that's what the cool people did.
Yeah, I would never say I was part of the cool people. That's for sure. So if you're collecting all through high school and you said you were playing sports and you were in the band?
Yeah, band, chorus, did the musicals, all of it.
Wow, you are just a Renaissance man.
Yeah.
So what were you collecting? What kept your interest going through high school?
So I collected the superpowers. Those came out 85? Superpowers and Secret Wars.
Now, did you play with the toys or did you just collect them and display them?
Oh, fuck, I play with my toys now. I get down on the floor and still play with them now, Lawrence.
Well, I know we do now, but we're more secure with our masculinity.
Oh, I did back then too. It didn't matter to me. I was outside taking pictures of my action figures when I was like in 10th grade, 9th grade.
But I don't really consider that playing.
Oh, I played. I mean, that was the whole point of taking the pictures. I play with them, find a place that I like to take a snap picture of them.
So did anyone know, or was it just kind of?
Oh no, I had them all out. They were all out all over the place.
And you didn't care. You just
didn't care.
They make fun of you at first, and then after a while,
they tease me all the time about it. I go home after school, like I got to go home. And they're like, "Oh, going home to watch cartoons and play with your dolls?" I'll be like, "Yes, I am. Thank you." And that's what.
And then after a while, they probably were like,
After a while, it didn't matter
Just what he
because
does.
I was still not to be a cocky son of a bitch, but I mean, I was still getting the girls, so it didn't matter to me.
I don't think that they were as judgmental back then when it came to stuff like that, because they saw an innocent side of you.
Yeah.
Little did they know the financial side that it would take of us.
Yeah, right.
So you go through high school. Are you into sports now, or did you just play because?
So my family, my mom's side of the family, is a huge football family, right? My grandfather started a Little League football association in our hometown with his friend. So I did that all the way through, Little League age, and then played high school football. And then I quit playing football when I was a senior just because I was more interested in doing the chorus and the musical, and there was just not enough time in my day for it. So,
Yeah, quickly, I think there's a lot of people that had Legos way longer than when they were just kids. Like, I think people looked at Legos like a model. Like, they could do model kits, no one would think twice of it.
right.
I think when you had Legos, if they were already displayed and everything, not too many people looked at you weirdly. So the whole football, you're playing football, played through high school.
Yep.
But it doesn't, like, you've never brought up like any type of sports.
I'm not really big into sports anymore.
Okay. I didn't think so.
My biggest thing right now, aside from action figures, is hiking outside in the woods.
That's interesting. So you get through high school, you graduate.
Yep.
What do you do after you graduate?
So I graduated from high school. I met a girl who I thought I was in love with, and she moved to Pittsburgh. So I moved to Pittsburgh with her. And from Pittsburgh, I was working at, funny story, I moved to Pittsburgh, got hired at a Hills department store, which is, was one of the big department stores in this area and Pennsylvania at the time. Working in the toy department, loved it. People would come in, oh, my son wants this. They were like, oh yeah, you're looking for this, and that was right when G.I. Joe Hall of Fame was coming out. So I was like, oh yeah, this is Snake Eyes, and this is his backstory, and parents loved it, But then from there, I talked to a recruiter, went into the Army, and got married to the girl I thought I loved, and went into the Army, and we had a baby, and she left about a month after the baby was born because she didn't like the fact that I was in a rapid deployment unit and we were out in the field training 3 weeks every month. So,
all right. So, what age did you join the military?
I was just turning 19. I signed up before I was 19, but I turned 19 like when I actually processed in.
So was there any reason for you to join the military?
I always wanted to be a soldier my whole life.
Okay, so obviously this was before 9/11, all that stuff. You just was it G.I. Joe or any, like, it was just
my uncles. I had a bunch of uncles that were Marines and Army guys, and that's just what I wanted to do. Wanted to serve my country.
So you joined at 19.
Yep.
How long did you serve for?
Did 4 years.
Okay. So not a lifer, obviously.
Nope.
What do you mind me asking what you did during?
I was communications.
Okay. So were you gone a lot?
I was training 3 weeks every month. I was in the 1st Cav Division.
Okay.
You're out in the field 3 weeks every month almost.
But were you out of the country station?
We only went to Iraq for 3 months shortly after Desert Storm ended because Saddam Hussein started moving his troops towards the border again. So we went over there to what was called a show of force. So basically we sat out in the desert and hated life for 3 months because there was nothing to do.
So what year would that have been?
That was end of 95, beginning of 96.
That's right. Because I graduated in 94. When did the Iraq war start? 91?
It was 89 or 90 because I was a senior in high school. So, or going to be a senior in high school anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, it was me going into high school. There was there was a guy that his family he would always come over with his family. He was from Kuwait, and he was visiting his grandmother when Kuwait was invaded. And he was, and that's it. He lived here, but his dad was stuck over there, couldn't leave, So it was just weird because it's like he saw things like that we didn't see, and when I mean stuff like that, like, cause eventually he would go back, but like Army of Darkness, he saw the original ending. That's what they got over there in Kuwait. They didn't get our ending. So he would tell about like different movies, like, oh yeah, our ending was different, or this was different in the middle.
Movies are different overseas. I had a buddy that was stationed over in Japan in the Marines. He was my best friend growing up, and like when we were first, he went into the Marines the same time I went into the Army. So we'd come home on leave, and we'd be talking about things. He'd be like, "Oh yeah, I saw this movie." I'm like, "Oh yeah, did you see this?" He's like, "That didn't happen." I was like, "Yes, it did." And he's like, "No, it didn't, because it didn't happen in the version they showed over in Japan."
Isn't that strange? It's
very strange.
It was so weird because the only reason why we knew is because we found this at a show. I found a bootleg VHS copy of it, and the guy's like, "Oh, it has an alternate ending, and it had more. I don't know if you've seen Army of Darkness, but it has little people, more little ashes running around and everything."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Yeah, that's the one I told you guys about. That's how our ending was." And we're like, "This messed up." But again, of course, you're still like a teenager. You don't realize logistics of how things, how things are. So that right there, yes. Shop smart. Shop S smart. I'm not a horror guy, but I love the Evil Dead franchise. It's so good. All right, so you served in the military for only 4 years.
Yep.
I was saying only because that is a good amount of time. Thank you for your service.
I would have stayed in, but my sergeant did not like me, and he basically fucked me out of re-enlisting. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I didn't think they did that to anyone that wanted to serve.
Yeah. He, because when you're re-enlisting, you have a 90-day window before your ETS date, right? That you're supposed like there's a 90-day window. If you get inside that 90-day window, you can't re-up unless you go through all this nonsense, right?
Yeah.
And I could have still done it, but then I would have had to gone somewhere else, and I really didn't want to leave Fort Hood because I liked it there. So he told me like 5 days after my 90-day window closed that I was supposed to go re-up last week. And he's the one that was supposed to tell me, right? And so then when I went to go do all the stuff, he was like, "Well, I ain't signing this paper for you." I was like, "All right, dude, fuck off."
I'll talk to Chad later about that.
Yeah. It's all good. It's all in the past now, man.
All right, so you get out of the military.
Yep.
You come home. Life is great because we know how soldiers are treated after you get out. What did you end up doing? Because you're only what, 23 years old now?
Yep. It was 1993, or 1996. So yeah, I was 23.
Yeah.
Yep. So I got out, came back home, bummed around for a couple of weeks, and then went down to the unemployment office, applied for a job at this factory that's in the town where next to where my parents lived, and got hired that day and started to work there for 6 or 7 years. And that's where I met my next wife. And that was in 96. So then I worked there for 6 or 7 years and then left there and went to work for Walmart for 8 years as a manager. And then
I've heard you discuss Walmart a few times.
Yeah.
Toy department and people bringing stuff back and you're like, no, that doesn't go.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you said you got remarried.
Yep.
All right. So your next divorce happens, or your next future divorce.
Yeah, exactly.
Now is that the mother of?
That's the mother of my 3 now. Yes. So I have a daughter with my first wife, who is 29 years old, and she lives in Georgia with her mother. And then I have 3 kids with my newest ex-wife. But that's my last ex-wife. I'm not getting married again.
Oh, so you have 4 kids?
Yep.
I thought you had 3.
No, I have 4.
Okay.
I don't talk about the oldest one very much because she doesn't really talk very much to me anymore, just because she's got a hair up her ass from her mom and she's 30. So I'm not gonna I'm
That's
not
not
gonna
funny.
pressure her to take time out of her life to talk to me. So
Yeah, I mean it's weird as kids get older. I know,
yeah,
like
she still talks to her brothers and sisters. So that's all I really care about.
no, that's good. I know, like when everything happened with me and my ex, and people were like, "She's not even your daughter." Who cares? I was like, listen, you raise someone for
Yeah.
almost 15 years. You don't say,
Yeah.
"Fuck you, move on."
Right.
And I was like, listen, when she's ready to talk to me, and then great. If she
Yep.
doesn't, then she doesn't need to apologize or whatever. And
Yep.
eventually, as her mom and I started to get along again, she reached out, and
Yep.
she lives 2.5 hours away from us, so we don't, I don't see her or talk to her as much. But
Yeah.
something goes wrong with the car, which is my old car, she hits me up, or she'll send me, stupid memes. She sees something of Star Wars, she'll send it to me. So I'm like, that's all I need. Like,
Yeah.
so, so how long were you married?
So we were married. So we met in 96 and got married in 98, and we got divorced 3 years ago. So we were married for like 22 years or something like that. 23
Oh,
years.
so you put in a good effort.
Yeah.
Put in,
It I mean, like we got I was a fucked up mental disaster from the beginning, but she put up with me for a long time. She had her own issues, and we tried to make it work. And we got along great. I mean, I still love her to this very day. Never say anything bad about her. But then, like, she was the hospice nurse for her mom who was passing away from cancer,
ooh,
and we were also remodeling our house at the time, and I was going through some stuff that I never processed from my childhood, and so it all kind of like snowballed together, and it was just it's time to be done. So
she was the hospice nurse for her mother.
her mom asked her to be, and she agreed to do it. So
That is rough. Like,
yeah, it fucked her up. I mean, she's still fucked up to this day. I mean, I love
yeah,
her, like I said, and I'll, if she asked me to do anything for her in the world, I would, because I love her. But like mentally, she's not the same person she was before that, right?
no, and again, I can. I
Yeah.
mean, it's like that twofold. It's like your parent, who obviously she was close with, they've done everything for you your whole life, and then they ask this one thing, but at the same time, to look at it and be like, "You're gonna ask
Yeah.
me to pretty much watch you die."
And she did. Like my Ange is my ex-wife's name. Ange and her dad were there with their one brother as the mom was like taking her last breath.
Yeah, and
I
that's
actually Ange was laying like on her stomach, like she had basically passed away like 3 or 4 times over this 3 month, 4 month period, and got resuscitated and everything. So it was a really traumatic situation. She should have never done it. Not saying that we wouldn't have gotten divorced a year later, because like I said, I was a fucked up mental mess. I mean, I was dealing with some shit that so when I was a kid, my dad was abused. Not, I won't say he was rough. Let's put it that way, right? And I was not a easygoing kid in the mean either, right? My brother, who's the older brother, is very passive. So like anytime my dad got angry, even when he wasn't angry, he'd find a reason to get angry, and he would just take it out on me and my brother. And when I got to be like 10 or 11, I was like, fuck this, I ain't taking that no more, right? And so like he'd start, roughing us up and smacking us around and stuff, and I'd start fighting back. Didn't help my case any because I got the shit kicked out of me more. But you know, and then like he'd start doing it to my brother, and I'd be like, why don't you pick on somebody your own size? And I was like half the size, right? But I was still going to stick up for my brother. And so I got smacked around again. And, that's just the way it was, right? I mean, I created just as much of it, I deserved just as much of it as I got. Let's put it that way, right? So I had that. I was sexually assaulted by like 2 guys when I was a kid. And I never dealt with that, right? Like actually a lot of it got put like into like the back part of my brain where I didn't think about it. And then like when I turned like 46, 47, like all this stuff just started like, and I couldn't figure out why I was feeling this way and acting this way. And, started causing all sorts of fights just because I wanted to, started doing a lot of stupid shit that I shouldn't have been doing.
Even
blowing
at that
money.
age, even at like in your
Not
40s.
I was starting fights like with my wife, right? For
Oh,
no
okay, all
reason,
right, all right. Not
like
physical.
just being miserable and being an
Yeah.
asshole, and she'd ask me to do something, I'd be like, go fucking do it yourself, and that wasn't me, right? So she was like, what the fuck's the matter with you, right? So then, like, after we got divorced, I completely like went down this fucking hole and moved back in with my parents and tried to kill myself a couple of times. And the one time, it was like a year after we got divorced, it was Thanksgiving. I found out that she was dating somebody else. And that night I went home, overdosed on some pills. At like 1 o'clock in the morning, I took a whole bunch of pills because I had all sorts of pills from years of, being in therapy and shit. And took a bunch of pills. My phone rings. Now this is the fucked up story. So I took the pills at like 1 o'clock because I figured if I take them before I go to bed, right, then I don't have to worry about waking up because that's the easiest way out, right? Fucking bullshit, pussy ass move, right? But I did it. Not proud of it, but I am here today to say that I did it, right? But 4 o'clock in the morning, no, 3:30 in the morning, my phone rings. My cell phone rings, and it's my ex-wife's phone number, right? Now I know vividly when I looked at the phone, it said Ange, right? And I was so fucked up from all the drugs that like I was like everything was just like spinning and twirly whirly and couldn't focus. So I'm trying to answer the phone. I get the phone answered. I'm like, hello, what's going on? I'm thinking the kids are, got into a car accident or something's wrong with the kids. And nobody's there. So I sat up and I was like, fuck, right? I was like, damn, this is not good. Still trying to like, my body's like wanting to lay back down, right? My mind's fighting it completely. So I was like, screw this. So I got up, I drank like, I don't know, probably 3 gallons of water, literally, like just trying to flush it out of my system, and made a pot of coffee. And I walked in the pitch black as the sun rose. I walked about 4 miles away from home. And right when I got to that point, like, the sun had already come up and I was standing there looking at the sun and I was like, fuck this, man. I'm going to change my entire life. Fuck this. Right. And at this point in time, I'm still 285, 295 pounds, somewhere in that area. Right. I was at 327 when I got divorced.
I've heard you talk about how heavy you were.
Yeah.
That's shocking because I've seen you in person and I don't see it,
Yeah. So I was like 327 pounds, got divorced. I dropped a few pounds just from not being at home, eating constantly is my crutch. So then I walked like 4 miles, stopped because I was like, holy shit, now you got to walk back, right? So the whole way back, I'm thinking to myself, how the hell I'm going to fix my life because I'm done, right? I'm done being a piece of shit. Came home, decided what I was going to do, made my plan, stuck to it, and fixed my life.
Wow. That's
So now I weigh 205 pounds and I have no more depression, no more mental illness. Good to go.
Yeah, that's wow, that's a lot. I guess this is the show now to talk about.
I was trying to avoid it because Oz, made it.
I know.
I didn't want to copy Oz's thing and steal his thunder or anything.
No, well, I don't think that was any. I don't think that's stealing any thunder. I think Oz was just he hit the point where he wanted to talk, and I mean,
it's kind of funny because Oz's my story is kind of the same, right? I mean, Thanksgiving, the whole thing, shit happened. I did the whole thing, said goodbye to my kids, said goodbye to my family, had the whole thing planned out. It's going to go for it, man. Try it unsuccessfully, but
your story is so similar to others because I knew a guy that committed suicide. I wasn't there. I would have been in high school. He would have been, I think, just graduated, and he went to the party that a friend of ours always threw, and they said like, it's so obvious now. He went around thanking everyone for being his friend, telling me he loves them, hugging everyone. And a friend of ours drove him home because I talked to him for like an hour and a half in the car before he got out, and he knew exactly what he was going to do.
Well, I can tell you this, right? They always talk about like people saying, "Oh, I'm going to go kill myself," or "I'm going to commit suicide," blah blah blah. Those of the people that are going to do it, like when I was going to do it, don't talk about it. We don't tell anybody about it. We don't talk about it. We don't make hint jokes about it beforehand. We make our plan and we go for it, right? And you know, I'm not proud of it, but you know, that morning, I know there was somebody somewhere watching over me because my phone shouldn't have rang because my ex-wife did not call me that morning. But my phone rang 4 a.m., woke me up, and that saved my life.
That's crazy. I do want to mention something really quickly here. So like I said, it sucks when the ex poisons the kids against you. Been there. I want to say this for anyone that will ever go through a divorce, a custody battle. I went through a really bad one. Again, things ended up working out fine, but I always said, as bad as things were and how she treated me, I always said, listen, my kids will always have a Mother's Day card, their mother will always get a Mother's Day card, a birthday card, and Christmas gifts or whatever. Like they'll get gifts on those days because the fight is not for them. It's between you and her, or you and him or whoever. And you owe it to your children to make sure they realize how they should treat people.
Yeah. My kids are all fucking adults right now. I mean, and I still make sure, I don't buy it for them anymore, except for Luke once in a while. But like, I still make sure they got gifts for mom for Mother's Day and gifts for their mom for their birthday and Christmas and everything, right? And
it drives me nuts because I'm like, why am I the one doing this? Like, I don't have a problem buying it and going out and doing it, but it's like, I'm not the one that should be coming up with the ideas and saying, hey, go, well, Mom. I know your mom. But it's not from me, all right? Yeah. I don't buy your mom birthday gifts anymore.
You're not 5. You're not 5 anymore. I'm not buying the gift for you anymore, kid.
But you can tell me what you want me to get. I just want to mention, if any of you guys are going through that or do, make sure your kids always have something for that other parent because it means something to them.
So it means
something to your kids.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's also like you said, right? You got to teach your kids, even when they're young adults, that you still got to treat people, in a respectful manner, right? And be generous, right? Because I mean, that's one of the things that I do now, since I've healed myself is some of the things I tell people nowadays, people look at me kind of like I'm crazy, but there are 3 things that I practice every day. Number 1, I practice gratitude. And I mean gratitude for every tiny little thing, right? I wake up in the morning. First thing I do is thank whoever you want to thank, right? Whether you call it God, the universe, fucking Mother Nature, I don't give a shit what you call it. You got to thank.
I'm atheist.
It's okay. It's all right, Andrew. All right.
Quickly, a side note, I brought that up to Olivia, just her and I the other day, and she's like, oh my God, that was so awkward. There's a 14-year-old, she's like, oh my God, that was so awkward. I just cannot believe, it was so quiet. And then Grandma wouldn't just stop. I was oh my God, all you had to do was say, oh, we don't say grace. Yeah. Not, boom, split that out. I'm like,
well, you're going to lay it out there. You might as well go all the way, right? Go big or go home.
Anyway, I'm sorry.
That's all right. So, every morning, as soon as I wake up, I say thank you to, I say thank you to God, but I mean, you can say it to anybody you want just for fucking waking up another day. Right. I mean, and you wake up, fuck, man. I say thank you for a cup of coffee. I walk out in the woods. I mean, you see a fucking butterfly, you say thank you to see the butterfly. I mean, shit. People do not have any idea how lucky they are to see the things that we get to see every day. Because some people can't see, some people can't hear the birds chirping. Some people don't get to experience even walking, and we take all that shit for granted, right? And I'm thankful for all of it now because I took it all for granted. That's part of the problem that happened with my ex-wife and I, right? I took it all for granted because I never thought she'd leave. Boy, was I wrong, right? So now I don't take anything for granted. And then, that's the number 1 thing I practice is gratitude. The second thing I always practice is just being kind to everybody, right? You should see me. My kids hate going to the store with me now because, I walk through the parking lot. I see some person struggling to lift a bag of dog food, and it doesn't matter. The guy could be built like you. And I'm like, dude, you need help with that bag? He's like, oh, I got it. I'm like, all right. Little old ladies are always like, oh, thank you so much. And I don't do it for the reward of, that they give me. I do it for the reward that it gives me to myself, right? Because it makes me feel good that I'm trying to help people. And those are the two things I practice every day: gratitude and kindness. And then I just love everybody, love everything and everybody. That's all there is, right? Because without love, fuck this world, man. It's a piece of shit.
I can agree with that, to an extent. I can't say that I love everyone. I can't say that.
So this is the way I look at it, Lawrence. The people that you struggle to love are the ones that need more of it.
Well, that explains why someone we've talked about recently.
Yep. It's true, right?
I,
Just like I told you, you have to be sorry for him because he does not know what he's doing, and no one has the balls enough to tell him that he's doing wrong.
in me, I'm always like, I'm all about accountability. And when someone doesn't show accountability in any walk of life, I have no problem just writing someone off. Like my best friend and
I'll tell you what, that was one of the biggest struggles that I had was, a lot of people struggle with it, right? I'm sure like Oz has struggled with it with his situation, right? It's no matter what happens to you in your life, there are things that are going to happen to you that you're not going to have any control over, right? But you still have to take responsibility for the fact that it happened to you and how you react to it.
Yes.
Right. So you get in a car accident, you can make it ruin your whole day, your whole week, your whole life, right? Or you get into a car accident and be like, well, that sucked. Now I got to go figure out how to get a new car. And you just go start the next day, right? Okay, I'm going to trade this, get my insurance check, whatever, go get a new car, right? That's just the way it is. You got to take control of your life. People just walk around their fucking head in the clouds, walking around blaming everybody. And that's what I did. And I can say that because I did it, right? All my problems were everybody else's fault. I took no ownership in causing any of my problems, and they were all caused by me. Like when I started going out and spending all of our money on, things that I wasn't buying anything bad. I was buying toys and guns and, things like that. Not real guns, but like bow and arrows and shit like that. I wanted, I'd see a crossbow. I'd go buy the damn thing just because I wanted it, And, my wife was like, you can't do this. And I'm like, I didn't do it. Right. I mean, I took no accountability, no ownership for any of my mistakes. And that was one of the first things that I did, man, is just, I started being grateful, started taking ownership, and then I just started being kind. Right. And the thing that pisses me off the most is that you hear all the time about how people hit rock bottom. They got to hit rock bottom. Don't wait till you hit rock bottom to fix your life. It sucks climbing up out of rock bottom. It sucks.
I agree with you. And again, I think I said it to Oz. Like, I've been depressed, but I've never suffered from depression. Those are two different things, But I always say, and I try and teach my kids, and I always say, like, there are reasons and there are excuses, and they're two different things. I tell people, listen, I have a belly on me because I don't want to go to the gym. It's not an excuse. The reason is I just don't really want to go and train abs and do all this stuff. And
see, that's the thing, right? You're not saying, oh, I got a belly because, I got a gallbladder problem or, blah, 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 blah. You're saying I'm just fucking lazy and don't want to go do fucking sit-ups.
Exactly.
That's not an excuse. That's just fact.
That's a reason.
Right?
That's
owning it. That's owning it.
Yeah. And that's why I try and teach my kids. And, and it's like, listen, there might be reasons, and you can have an excuse for certain things, but then there are the reasons, and it's like, hey, you know what, you got to know the difference. And if your reason is, hey, the reason why I'm not as muscular as I once was or what I want to be, if it's, well, I worked late and I did this, well, you know what, Arnold Schwarzenegger did it too. Don't get me wrong, when you have the time to do it and everything, not a big deal, but hey, you know what, these actors and the athletes, they do it. It's not, that's your excuse. If your reason is, hey, listen, I worked all day, I want to sit home and eat ice cream and watch TV, and I don't want to go to the gym, that's why. It's like,
you want to know how I lost most of my weight, Lawrence? By walking.
That's what you said. I heard you say. I
started walking 5 miles a day from that morning. After that morning, I started walking about 5 miles a day, sometimes more. And within 6 to 8 months, I dropped 50, 60 pounds. And then I just kept going, right? I mean, it doesn't take that. What I'm saying is it doesn't take that much, right? Because people make excuses and it doesn't take that much. You can get a good workout in 10, 15 minutes as long as you push yourself.
Yeah. And like you said, walking, it doesn't put abuse on the body.
Right.
You know, like, I mean, you talked about.
That's why I started walking, right? Because being 300 pounds, it's not easy to go, you know, like I tried going to the gym and I tried, you know, doing the sit-ups and stuff, and it's not easy at all, right?
No, I understand that.
Once I lost a lot of the weight, then I started, you know, doing the sit-ups, and I still don't do them as like much as I should, but, you know, try to work out a little bit every day, keep my body going. I mean, you know, I'm 50 now. I'm probably in better shape than I was my entire time I was in my 30s and my 40s.
And that's awesome. Like a lot of people don't realize you can still be in great shape. Especially look at people now, and I'm not talking about the guys that are still on steroids or that have the personal trainers because they have the money. 50 is not that old anymore. I mean, I was actually just talking to someone, and I showed them so it was a picture of the cast of Cheers from the first season.
Yeah.
And Sam Malone, who is Ted Danza, he was 35 when he started. And I'm like, he looks way older than I do now. Like, there is no way that I look that old. Oh, I know I look young for my age.
I see pictures of my grandparents when I was a kid, right? They were 50 and they looked like grandparents, right?
Yes.
I mean, I'm 50. I don't look like a grandfather. You know, I mean, our version of what a grandfather is supposed to look like, right?
And you start to like I know you look 50 because I know your age and the stuff we talk about and stuff. And if the hair grows back, I have a feeling there's going to be some more gray than there was when I shaved it. And we'll see how long I can deal with it. I did the Forrest Gump. I was taking a shower. I'm like, I don't want to shave my head anymore. Which is how I do it every time. Like, I don't want to shave it anymore. I'm done. All right, so you get divorced. You obviously move out on your own. Now, you've been collecting this whole time. So, how are you as a collector? Actually, let me go back to your first two wives. Now, your first wife, you were married for how long?
We were married for like 5 years, but we only lived together for 10 months.
Okay, so it was a fairly short.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we were only married that long because I was in the service, you know. So.
All right. So your recent, your last ex-wife.
Yeah.
How did she handle your collecting? Now, you kind of went into it a little bit that you were just buying whatever you wanted for a while and that.
In the early stages, it was fine because she just gave me an allowance. You know what I mean? Like, she's like, here, this is what we can afford for you to, you know, buy whatever you want to buy with, right? Like, when we were first together, like our first Christmas together, she got me the Star Wars Power of the Force A-Wing, a couple other action figures. Her parents got me like the Millennium Falcon for that, right? You know what I mean? It's like
show off the mug that you have that I don't have.
What? You want to see this mug? You want to see this mug? Look at this mug.
Actually, you notice it's freezing up because
this is
Stringer doesn't want to show it.
I should have worn my Hella Dope t-shirt, but I wore my Sasquatch. I wore my Sasquatch shirt instead.
Okay, so she was okay.
She was cool. I mean, she's from day one. Day one, she was fine.
So, all right.
Most of my collecting during the times that we were married, though, was 1/6 scale G.I. Joe vintage adventure team. Most of it.
So, all right. So there was a 1/6 scale adventure team. That's what you were mostly collecting. But then you said it got kind of out of control when you kind of stopped caring. And
yeah, when I hit like 45, 46 in that area, I said, fuck this life. And I was just going to do whatever I wanted and started.
Okay.
That's part of the whole thing, right? Like there was a listing on eBay for like this lot of G.I. Joes. And I think it was like the opening bid was like 150 or something like that. And I bid probably like $400, which was way over what I could afford to spend. And I was thinking to myself, I'm never going to win it anyway. Well, I fucking won it. Right. And of course I had to pay it. Right. And I paid it. this huge box shows up. She's like, "What the fuck is this?" And how much did this cost? And I'm like, $150. And then like 2 days later, she's like, "Why is there money gone for the electric bill?" I'm like, "I don't know. Where'd it go? I didn't see anything."
So you're spending $400 on a figure?
Well, it was a lot. I mean,
A
there was
lot,
like,
okay.
it was a couple figures, a couple uniforms, things like that. But it was still,
A few
I
years
shouldn't have
ago,
bought it, right? I mean, it was definitely something I shouldn't have. And I shouldn't even have put the 150 down, let alone 400.
a few years ago, I was bidding on a Cobra Rattler, and I had put like, I want to say 230 was the top that I would go. And I'm like, if someone else is gonna, and I kept seeing it go up, mine would go up, and I'm like, and then I end up losing out, and I think it went for like 245. And half of it, you're like, I'm kind of glad you didn't win. Then
Yeah,
you're like, what's an extra $15? But then at the same time, you're like, well, how high would he have gone?
yeah. I do that a lot when I'm like now I bid on, like sometimes I bid on like some pre-owned mezcos and stuff like that, right? And it's like I don't bid any higher than what I can afford, but it's like say I bid $100, right? And I'm like, it goes up to like it's sitting there at 95 for like the last day, and I'm like, oh shit, I'm probably gonna win this, awesome, Then I see it hit like 99, and then of course after it's over with, it went for like 101. I'm like, that's all right. I probably didn't need it anyway, so it's probably fate telling me I didn't need it. But I'm like, I could have probably gone up another dollar, but then how much higher would he have gone? Because that
Yeah,
extra dollar turns into 10, 15, 20 real fast.
and that's exactly it. And again, like the whole eBay thing can be
Oh yeah,
really bad, or it can be really good if you know what you're getting and the person doesn't know what they're selling. Or
yeah. So when I was collecting a lot of the 1/6 scale stuff, though, I was doing a lot of refurbing too. So I'd buy like beat up figures and heads and stuff, and I'd reflock them, restring the bodies, repaint the faces. So I mean, I was making some of that cash back, but
we're gonna go back to the flocking thing because I gotta know how you flock things because it's just fascinating to me. All right, so you get divorced.
yep.
You kind of, I don't know if you hit rock bottom, but you
Mm-hmm.
realize something was wrong.
Oh, I hit rock bottom. I fuck, crash and burn.
So you hit rock bottom.
Yep.
You turn your life around.
Yep.
You have 4 kids. I'm sure you love them all.
Yep.
Even the one that wears glasses inside.
Yeah.
Doesn't really. I mean, he pretty much the live stream you do with him is the same as me and Roman doing it together on Mondays.
He's really just there for my tech guy. He's like my on-screen moderator, basically.
If I could get Roman to stay in one spot and wear sunglasses, I would put a camera on him and call him Luke. Yeah. I actually think it's pretty funny because
Luke is really he is a really hardcore introvert. Like just up until probably a year ago, he didn't really like talking to people at all that weren't part of his family. I mean,
is that the sunglasses thing?
Yep. So he's a really, really hardcore introvert. So like just him coming on and showing his face now is, like a big step, right?
But is that why he wears the sunglasses?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's
so even on screen, that's still his way to hide from.
Yep.
Has he thought about wearing sunglasses and a mask?
Well, that's why he made himself an avatar now with Gandalf. So now he doesn't have to worry about it.
Hey, the sunglasses on Gandalf was my idea. I just want to take credit for that. Or no, what did he have up? No, he had something else up.
No, he had a different thing first.
He had like Mordor up or something like that.
Yeah, he had
and I was like
a Japanese landscape, I think was what. Then you told him to put sunglasses on, and he did. Yeah.
I actually think that's kind of funny because he had his own gimmick and stuff. All right, so you're collecting toys.
Yep.
I know you are into a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
How do you go about collecting? Because if you've been collecting and you said you never really stopped, you must circulate some of your.
I circulate almost everything.
Because you sent me this. which isn't available anymore.
No,
So
that was
it's not
probably
like,
from like 2000.
yeah, because I remember when they were out. I
Yeah.
remember having or seeing all the figures,
Yeah.
and I just wasn't interested in them.
Yeah.
And I love it now. Wow, he's got he got pins up here and single jointed legs, but I mean,
He's still an O-ring.
yes, he is. But I think the weight would keep him down if I tried to put him anywhere.
So I circulate everything. Like right now, my thing now for the last 3 years. I mean, I've bought and sold stuff a lot because like I was doing refurbs and things like that. Right. I used to do a lot of customs, 1/6 scale, and sell them. So like I have a few toys that I'm attached to from my childhood, but anything new that I've bought, I'm really not attached to it. I take it, I put it through some pictures, maybe build a dio around it, take some pictures, and if I sell it, I sell it. It doesn't matter to me.
So do you have a stash of stuff that just kind of sits there and then you pick through it? Or do you actively try and sell the stuff?
Most of the time I buy stuff and then I sell stuff.
Okay.
I have some things that I keep that are, just for background stuff, but I can use there are things that I keep are things that I can use in any kind of photo story or whatever that I want to do, right? It's not like, or else it's something that I think is really cool. Like my Mythic Legions, I have 4 Mythic Legions and I'll probably never sell those. Plus the horse, but I'll probably never sell them, right? I have probably 15 AWOCs and I sold 3 of them because they were like ones that I had triplets of. They're the ancients, though. I bought them, and then I bought some more at PowerCon, and then I forgot that I put an order in, and that got sent. And then, like with the Mezco, right? I'll buy like a Mezco, use it for some pictures, sell that off, and buy a different Mezco. So, I mean, I have like 3 Mezcos that I keep.
Have you made any money off any of the stuff you sold?
I make money off of all of it.
Okay. So I know, like, I was talking to Matthew. We were talking about you and your pictures and everything, and he goes, "That's how I know him." He goes, "I met him on another page because of, I guess, some collab photos that you do." I guess Matthew's part of it, and there's obviously a whole bunch of other people. And I was like, "Oh, I had no idea. I don't even know how you came across."
I have no idea. I met so many people. It's like I could tell you how I met Mr. Wonderful. Mr. Wonderful and I was making a throne out of foam for my AWOC, and he was making one, and he asked me a couple of questions, and then we just started talking. Now we talk all the time.
Yeah, Mr. Wonderful is Mr. Wonderful. I see him helping out Mega J. Mega J said he's a saint. I said, it's a little overboard. I wouldn't call him a saint.
He's calling Mr. Wonderful a saint?
Yeah, because
man, he doesn't know that guy. Travis is such a salesman. Puts on that sales guy face, has Jay fooled. Man, that guy's an animal.
Yeah, smack that like button. Thank you, Silver K.
What's up, Kayla?
Wait, there's other streams going on. I don't know. I know that Thursday. I know Thursday now is kind of flooded with streams. But
every night's flooded.
But when people tell me about Mondays, I'm like, I have absolutely no idea. I picked Monday because it was between Geek Dad Life and.
That's like when me and Luke started. We started on Wednesday because of his work schedule. Then his work schedule got switched where he was off on Tuesdays instead of Wednesdays. So we switched to Tuesdays. I mean, I didn't look at anybody else on the thing. I just went for it and said, this is what time we're doing it, and this works. Not for you, Tony. There's not a like button for you. Nobody likes you. Go home.
There doesn't even be anything on Mondays but this show. Me for 3+ hours. Sometimes
Lawrence, Punk, and Roman. That's the 3 people that host his show. Depending on if the steroids are kicking in or not.
That is long gone, and I am glad. I am glad that those things are done. That was a hell of a
Yeah.
So the lot came out, man. Payne should have said right away, like, "Hey, we need you on a therapy session right now."
That's like you said, right? His therapy session didn't help you. You're still an animal.
Yeah, well, like I said, those steroids, they were wrapping up that day.
Yeah.
I think Wednesday was the first day that I felt normal again. But it was by the end of that stream, man, it came out. It was not planned. All right, so you are circulating your figures.
Yeah.
What are you mostly collecting now?
I have a nice collection of AWOCs. I have some Mythic Legions and Cosmic Legions. So I have like 4 Cosmic Legions as well. And then I have like 3 or 4 of the figure Obscuras coming. So, I mean, collect some of that. Mostly AWOCs, Valiverse. Started getting back into Classified now that the figures are better quality and stuff. And then I collect random things like the Warbear from Memory Toys and some Mezcos. But like my whole thing is about like I like the weird figures and I like figures that are going to photograph really well. So like when I see a figure, like it could be the coolest figure in the world, but if I don't think it's cool and I can't like a story doesn't pop into my head, I'm not going to buy it.
Okay.
When I see a figure, if a story pops in my head, I'm going to buy the damn thing.
And you seem to be really into like mythical creatures.
Yes.
Okay.
Always have them.
Which again, that you did that one stream like 2 months ago. Nothing about toys. You were talking about different.
Yeah, we do that. We talk about cryptids and we talk about sea monsters. And I've always been a fan of Bigfoot. So when I was 7, I was a young kid. My dad took me and my brother to the drive-in. And we went and saw this horrifying Sasquatch movie about like Sasquatch attacking these hikers and like ripping their arms off and killing them and all sorts of stuff, right? And
Largo, I just want to quickly say, Ed and I have talked about this.
Monster Force is getting its own shelf. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, like I'm still on the fence. I'm not on the fence about how wonderful they look. I'm on the fence if I should go all in because I know how bad I can get. But because I'm kind of out of, like you said, you have to cut one. You have to cut one, and I've already decided to cut one.
Yeah,
it's not classified. It's not gargoyles.
Yeah,
I
know.
Monster Force. There's just something about it.
It's awesome, dude. Yeah. It's like nostalgic and modern and futuristic all at the same time.
Yeah, it's so original.
Yeah,
it's so original without being original.
Yep.
It's like, oh, it's Dracula. Great, no Dracula, but it's like, and we've seen all monsters like get combined, but that Invisible Man figure, you're like,
oh, dude,
that's awesome. Like,
yeah,
like when you actually look at the concept of it, you're like, it's not like a rocket scientist had to figure out how to do this, but when they did it, you're like, why didn't anyone else do this?
Yep.
It really reminds me of something that we were talking. I don't know, not you and I. I was talking to Matthew when we did the show last Thursday. What's that DC show? Not Titans, but they had the other DC show.
A cartoon or?
No, it's a live action one.
I don't watch any live action TV shows.
It's God, I can't think what it is. But they have the Invisible Man on it, and he's wrapped like that. But he's not the Invisible Man because it's DC.
Right.
Doom Patrol. Thank you, Matthew. Doom Patrol. But that figure reminds me of that. I'm like that. Like
yeah.
But I love that. Like I didn't know Matthew was still here. I haven't seen him moderate today, so. He pops in.
He doesn't have his wrench.
Why does he have the wrench?
Can you see? I don't see the wrench. Can you see the wrench?
Negative man. Oh, because on StreamYard you don't see the wrench.
Oh yeah, that's right. You're right.
Yeah, but if I look over here,
yeah, that's right. I forgot I was looking at the chat through StreamYard. I'm not used to watching your streams through StreamYard. I'm used to watching them through YouTube. That's why it was weird. So
Yeah, I do the same thing. I do the same thing. Yeah, so that whole Monster Patrol, like,
oh yeah, it's gonna be.
That's
awesome.
gonna be. I keep looking at it and I'm like,
I'm all in. I already bought. I pre-ordered all the figures for January, and I pre-ordered all the figures and a couple of extras that are the Army Builders for the September ones.
well, like I said, I think they're pushing back the pre-orders so guys like us can get a second job and afford them.
Absolutely.
So when they come out, but the problem is, classified keeps going. Oh wait, hold on.
Yeah.
But there's more, and I'm like, okay, can you just stop?
Yeah.
YouTube doesn't pay me enough to keep buying this shit.
That's right.
and like, you know, when I asked about you about like circulating your figures, like, I don't sell my stuff because everything that I buy, I want. And so it's like I start looking at even the stuff behind here that are one-offs, and I'm like, well, I bought it because I wanted it. It's not because I was like, oh, that's just a cool figure for
so
right
that's like where I have like some rules that I followed in my head, right? Like a lot of the figures I buy just to tell a story with, or they're going to be really cool in a photograph, and I will buy the figure, and after I'm done doing the photos that I do with it, I will sell it. There are some figures like the Holiday Gomez from Mezco last year I bought. That was I bought it with the money I got for Christmas or my birthday or something, and I love that figure. I probably won't ever sell it, right, until I'm going to die or something.
Yeah.
Like my Mythic Legions, Dubon, and the horse. I probably won't ever sell those because I love those figures.
I should have bought the horse.
I gave you money for the horse. Where's the horse? You only need to come up with a little bit more, like $70 worth.
I don't need it. I also have the Headless Horseman on order too. So.
Oh yeah, that Headless Horseman coming. Yeah, so do I.
Yeah, the glow in the dark one.
Yeah.
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 In that, I'm just like, oh,
man. It helps though, like for me as my collection, because like I build simple diodes to go with them. So like, and the diodes I build go with, I usually build diodes that can go with a lot of different things. So it's like, you know, it's really, for me, it's more of a photographic experience as opposed to actually having a collection, right? I mean, like I have Hannibal and Murdoch that were my A teams, like the 5-inch ones from when we were kids. Remember those?
Yeah.
I have those two. I have those Fisher Price Adventure People. I have some Mr. T figures from when I was a kid because I was a fan of Mr. T when I was a kid. So those things are like things I'll never sell, right? I have a really huge collection of like books about G.I. Joe collecting, like all the sets from 64 all the way up to 90 or something like that, all sorts of books on that. But the figures themselves, I use them for photographs. When I'm done with them, they move on to a good home.
Yeah. And that, like I said, I could understand how, if you're, like you said, you're telling a story, you're doing this photography. So, it's not a snake I saw, but the one guy on one leg has no problem standing.
It's like I bought 2 of the Swarm Hordes at PowerCon.
Everyone bought 2 of them except for me. I was the only one.
You, right? I actually bought 3 because I bought 2 for myself and 1 for Rob. But anyway, I opened one, took some pictures of it. It doesn't fit into my collection at all. I can't tell a story with it. So I boxed the open one back up. They were what, $45 at PowerCon, right? $45. Yes. So opened, out of the package, put back in. I sold it for $52 on eBay.
Okay.
I'll keep the other one until I decide that I'm going to sell it mint in box, or like, when they're desired again, right? I mean,
well, it's hard to get a lot of money for something when there's so many that are made. And
I started that listing on eBay for like $35 because it was opened, and I know Bobby still has them on his site.
Yeah, exactly.
No one's going to pay $45 for this.
I saw someone trying to sell one for like $75.
Oh yeah.
And people started laughing at him,
and
people are like defending him, and it's like, they're on his site for $45. You pay $8 shipping.
Yep.
Why would someone spend $75 plus shipping?
Yeah.
Like
I
that
did
doesn't
that.
make any logical sense.
When I put that hoard up there, I put it on there for $35 and I put $8 for shipping because I knew Bobby had it on his site for 45, brand new with $8 shipping.
Yeah. But that's interesting. Like I picked that figure up. I thought it was really going to fit in. It does fit in wonderful with my, Serpentor side of
Yeah.
everything. But again, it totally makes sense where it's like that doesn't fit into anything else that I'm doing.
Yeah.
And again, if
Like
you're collecting, Action Force for the military style stuff, and you're doing military pictures,
I have 12 or 13 Action Force figures, and two of them, no, only one now is original. The rest of them were all kit bashed together, swapped heads, different bodies on different pants, the whole 9 yards.
yeah, it's weird that you swap stuff and the figures are pretty much the same, but
I like the pictures I take with my Action Force. I don't take them like if I take them fighting an enemy, it's like one-on-one. Most of the time, I'm taking pictures of like, 2 guys or 3 guys in a squad, like,
yeah.
doing something, right? So, I mean, like for me, having like a swarm horde is just, it just didn't fit, right? It's too futuristic for what I wanted.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. And again, I've seen a lot of your pictures. You do a lot of mythical creatures and different things like that.
Yeah.
So I gotta ask. So you've mentioned this a few times. Explain how you flock something, because I was like, when you mentioned it the other day on, I forget what stream it was, I was just like, oh, you can flock on your own. I mean, I flock every night, but that's a whole nother story.
He let Roman out of the room first, right? I don't want his morals corrupted.
Oh, he don't care.
No. So the whole point of the whole thing behind the flocking process, right, is basically the flock for a standard GI Joe vintage. The flock is 2 millimeters long, and the trick to make it look like real hair is that it has to.
What is flock in general? Like
it's a fiber, just like
So wait, so flocking isn't the process of it. Flocking is actually the texture of what it is.
Flocking's the fiber.
Oh, okay. I did not know.
Yep. Yeah. So flocking is the actual fiber, which is like it's I don't even know what the hell it's made of anymore. I forgot now, but it's just like rayon and a bunch of other non-realistic fibers, right?
All right.
So the whole point of making it so it works on a figure, so it looks like real hair, is you have to statically charge it. So when it hits the figure, it actually stands up, right? So because if you don't, then it just lays down and it looks like it looks like a mess. So there are people that go out there and they make flock boxes, which is like it's got a pole and with a negative ion charge and all this other stuff, right? And they can electrically charge the flock that way by putting it in this flocking station. And that's how like Hasbro and Palitoy did it back in the day, these huge flocking boxes. That's how you get stuff like when you get like the little boxes that have flock on them and stuff, right? That's what they do. They put them in these big static charged machines. And then there's a glue adhesive, whatever they use, that goes on there. And then you just shoot the flock at it. I do it by hand with a static bottle. So once you apply the glue, you shake the bottle because it's plastic. It causes the flock to get electrically charged. And then you just squirt it out with air pressure and it makes it stand up.
So what kind of glue do you use where you're not getting it all over?
I use a Loctite, basically like a slow cure epoxy or Gorilla Glue slow cure. Depends on what color flock I'm doing though, because the Loctite stays clear, the Gorilla Glue yellows over time. Even the clear yellows over time. I have how-tos on my YouTube channel.
Oh,
Showing
really?
me doing it, yeah.
Oh, wow. That's just on that. I don't have the Black Panthers downstairs.
Now the Black Panther like that, I could get that short of flock and redo it, right?
That's just like when I heard you mention it, I was just like, Wow,
Yeah.
I didn't know you could do that. I mean, obviously, anyone can do something.
I taught myself how to do it. I was farting around one day on the internet and was watching some guys do it to train stations, or train dials, like train layouts. And I was like,
Oh,
it's like, I bet you could do that and reflock a Joe head, because I had, I was collecting G.I. Joes at the time. Started practicing, did it a couple times, and
oh, you were flocking the big Joes.
yeah. Well, I flocked some
Oh,
small ones. I mean,
yeah.
I had my Magnum PI, and I have my dusters flocked. I could flock those. I could flock just about anything. I could flock your head if you wanted me to.
Well, I might need some back here and
Yeah.
around
Get the right
here.
kind of glue that sticks to human flesh, it will be all set.
I'll just shave it if I really don't. If I'm
Yeah.
like, it's not bad in the winter, but you do have to do the. All right, it's September. It should be at a stage where I can actually comb it and make it look nice for Christmas and Christmas pictures, and then come March again, I'll shave it again because.
I can give you some hair. You want some of mine?
Well, I went from having 10-inch hair to shaved again.
Mine's long enough.
So, yeah, so I went. So more than a few years ago now, because I've been shaving my head again, over 2 years. But I went. I was done shaving it, and then it was growing, and I'm just like, whenever you shave your head, and it's going, you always hit a length that there's nothing you can do.
Yep.
Because it just sticks up. You can't have the side shave. It's just weird. And then it gets to a length that is decent, but I let it kind of go too far, and it got to that length where it's like I still can't do anything. But I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna grow it out. I haven't grown it out. I went 2 years without shaving it, and then as a certain manager at my office didn't like it, but he's a sales manager, so he has nothing to do with me at all. And I actually thought it was the owner, and I was telling my boss, I'm like, "Fucking, I ain't gonna shave it. I'm not gonna cut it." And then eventually my boss was like, "It wasn't the owner. He didn't care. It was a sales guy. He had it. He didn't understand it. He's like, so you going through like midlife crisis, something wrong?" He's like, "Dude, he just wants long hair." Like it was.
That's like me, right? I spent, even when I was a kid, I always had a short haircut. But like after I got out of the service, I kept my head high and tight, buzz cut until a year ago.
And Largo, let me tell you this. I am the only one at work that wears a hat. The owner gave us hats of our company. I was the only one that started wearing it. And when I first started wearing it, I had short hair. So if I took it off, so if I wore it, I didn't get hat hair. Well, once no one said anything, I was like, well, screw this. I'm just going to continue to wear it. So if I don't want to do my hair is always clean. That was the biggest thing. Even when my hair was long, what bothered me the most was that I'm like, my hair is clean.
Yeah.
I mean, when it gets humid, it kind of poofs up. Frizzy. But you never looked at me going, you're a mess.
Yeah.
You wash your hair, do something. We used to work with the guy years ago where we used to have cards for our service calls. And I told my first service manager, I'm like, why don't you make his first call Bo Ricks? And he did. He said, go get a haircut. Gave him like $10. Guy was so pissed off. Like he's dirty. It looks disgusting, you know? He was not happy.
So real quick, Travis, I have one of those. I turned a bug zapper, handheld bug zapper, into a flocking device.
Are you gonna flock a hexastack?
I could if he wanted me to.
He can do it himself.
He can. Maybe he can get his buddy Jay, Mega J Retro, that loves him, to do it for
him. Yeah, the whole flocking thing, I found that interesting when you were talking about it, because I'm like,
yeah. I've actually flocked a couple of Adventure People heads in the past.
Really?
Yeah.
So how well does it stay on?
Stay on forever, as long as you apply the glue right and make sure the head's clean before you do it. All comes down to
Really?
make, it's just like anything else, right? I mean, if you played with it and rubbed it on the carpet with sandpaper, of course it's going to come off, right? But I
Well,
mean, it's regular use, it's not going to come off.
did you already let Ted know that you'll reflock his Mossman when it gets a little too worn for
I
his
told him.
nips?
I told him I could do it. Probably last longer than Mattel did.
I still can like $40. Like I even told you when you were getting them for everyone. I'm like, I cannot believe people are spending $40 on that thing.
I couldn't either, man, but people wanted them, so I bought them.
You know what's funny about that? I mentioned the Lady Slither, which went on sale on Tuesday for Mattel Creations. It shipped already, and supposedly it said it'll be here tomorrow. I don't think it's going to be.
Yeah.
I think it'll probably be Saturday, but I'm like, that was really damn quick.
Yeah, I was watching Radical Toys torpedo review live last night, and some of the guys on there were talking about how they ordered it and it was already shipping. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, I mean, the last one was really quick, but like a week. So they've been pretty good. I mean,
yeah.
Better than Hasbro is with, their pre-orders. And then it's like, when's it going to come? Oh, yep. Not for 2 months. All right, I'll pay for this. Oh, I got charged for it.
Yeah. Chad's rant was perfect the other day. Picture distribution.
You know what? I haven't had a chance to watch it.
That's a good one.
Yeah, the whole I said this is about toys, other than what you're doing and everything. So anyway, so where do you see so you have your own YouTube channel? Let's talk about that for just a bit. Is there anything that you're looking to do with your YouTube channel?
Nope. So
you're just looking to?
I just doing it for fun.
You can still do it for fun and grow.
I have no I spent so much of my life with my dad, and then being married for so long, living my life for everybody else, that I just do whatever I want to do for myself now, right? So like my channel's never going to get that big because I post things about like nature, and then I post things about toys, and I'll post things about something completely random, and I don't fucking pay attention to what hashtags I'm using, and I don't care. Just like my pictures, right? If you don't like my Instagram pictures, I'm not posting them for you. I'm posting them to share them, and if you like them, great. If you don't, take a fucking walk. I don't care.
To piggyback on that, it's kind of funny when like people get mad on Facebook because someone posts their kids too much, and it's like, it's their fucking Facebook.
Right.
If they want to post their kids, which God forbid someone be proud of their kids and want to post about their kids.
Yep.
Don't follow them. Don't get me wrong. If it's you getting drunk every weekend, then you're like, all right, dude. Like,
well, the problem is, I think like we've gotten to the point now where like there's so many people that have used their kids to get their shit, right? So now people see that as a bad thing when you're using your kid.
Yeah.
You get your, so it's like, what if it's just a mom and a dad and they're posting family pictures all the time? Who gives a shit? It's their channel. Let them do it.
Yeah.
They're not using the kid to get, promotions like a lot of these
parents. Yeah. No. Right? Yeah. Like if it's just like, hey, you know what? My kid did. Right. I'm proud of my kids. Look at my kid. It's cute. Like,
yeah. Here's my kid and his, his high school opening day or whatever. Right.
We knew that one was coming.
Right.
No, I agree with you 100%. In all honesty, like again, if that's how you want to handle your channel, you're right. Like that's awesome. Like I've watched so much on YouTube, and I know I've discussed this before.
I mean, I like Unboxing Art was just talking about this the other night or maybe last week on his state of the art. Like he got wrapped up into buying things for the channel, right? Because he wanted to do his channel, right? He got wrapped up into buying all these Marvel Legends, and now he wants to get rid of them all. It's like, it's like if you're going to go into it with the idea, like I know you've talked about your channel before, right? You wanted it to grow, but you wanted to do it your way, and you had a thing that you were going to do, right? You're not worried about being the first review. You're not worried about having the greatest review in the world. You're just doing it, and if you like it, great. If you don't like it, Go find somebody else's review because that figure's been reviewed 100 times and it doesn't matter, right?
Exactly.
So you're doing it your own way. You're just doing your thing. Like I have no desire to do a review because I can't stand doing reviews.
Well, they're not the most happy things.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Now, like if somebody sent me something and they said, "Hey, take some pictures of this and I want you to do a review of it," I would do it, right? If it was something new and somebody asked me to do it, I
yeah,
would do a good review. But I'm not going to go to Walmart or the Big Bad Toy Store or Hella Dope or anywhere else and buy a figure just so I can review it. And I'm going to add to my collection, right? But I mean,
yeah.
ultimately, a lot of these people just go out and buy these figures because they want to review them.
That was my whole thing. Like, again, the whole idea of like growing to get monetized really came
Right.
from
Like that guy from Hexastack. He's going to want me to do a review. I'm going to tell that guy to go pound salt because I ain't backing that stack. I've already backed it.
I'm still waiting for mine, so it's hard to do a review if I don't have it in hand. So,
I know you're not Mega J. That's all there is to it, Lawrence. You're not Mega
that's
J.
Yeah. I'm not Mega J. I don't get to take back my
maybe
hotel.
we got to start calling Travis Saint Travis or Saint Wonderful. Saint Wonderful. That's what we're going to call him from now on. He's Saint Wonderful. We love you, Travis.
That was the whole thing. Like, you know, when my buddy was like, "Yeah, if you monetize, maybe make a little bit of money," and to me, it just kind of became like, once I got so close, but I'm like, I'm just reviewing stuff that I'm buying. Like, I'm not going out of my way.
Right.
You'll see a lot of stuff. There's a bunch of stuff that I don't collect that you'll see me review at times. But that's usually because my buddy Greg will hand it to me and be like, "Hey, you want to review this?"
Yeah.
No.
Well, I'm also like you, right? Like you went and got those the dinosaurs that kind of fit with the Motu, right? Whatever those were.
Yeah, the Soros Warriors.
Yeah, Soros Warriors, right? You did your good reviews of those. But like that's how I am. Like when I bought Valaverse for the first time, right? I bought one figure. When I bought AWOC for the first time, I bought one figure. Mythic Legion, same way. Mezco, same way. If I like them and they're good figures, I'll buy more. But like if I was going to do it, that's how it'd be. Like I get one figure, do a review, and I might not buy another one, right? So it's like, why am I going to bother? When I'm interested in something, then I buy it, right?
Especially when you're looking at the price point, and you know, it's like, am I going to spend again $32 for it?
Sorry, I was laughing at Travis. Saint Wonderful. I like the way that sounds.
You should change your name to Saint Wonderful before the end of the stream here. And then Ed and I are going to go down and trademark it and make you pay us for it.
What, 20%? 20% of nothing, still nothing.
Yeah. Again, like, I like talking to people that do have channels and like, you know, asking them what they want to do, because it seems like a lot of people in the toy community, like, they're like, I don't want to make any, you know, I don't want to get monetized. I don't care about making. It's like, all right, well, it's not about caring to make money, but it makes me think of the old punk attitude where it's like, well, it's not about making money. Well, no, but there's now punk bands that have stayed true to themselves, and this is their career. Yeah, right. They're not Taylor Swift. They're not selling out 50,000, say, you know, 50,000 person stadiums.
I mean, I'm not against it, right? Like if my channel all of a sudden took off, whatever, right? I'll do what I have to do to keep it going. But I'm not like I've lived my life to the quote I always use is, my life does not include a hankering to charm society. And I've always been that way, right? So if it's a social norm, I'm not a punk, so it's not why I do it. I just don't follow the norms, right? I just if there's a correct way to do it, I'm probably going to do it the wrong way anyway. So it's like people always laugh about my dioramas, right? They're like, well, how'd you do this? I'm like, I just take shit and I throw it on my table. I have no plan. I have no idea. I'm like, okay, I want to build, like today, I want to build a fireplace. So I just started cutting. Whatever happened, right? I'll show it off tomorrow. I had no plan. I have no idea what I'm doing. I just do it. And that's how I live most of my life, right? Just no plan, just go for it.
No,
You're either going to fail. You're either going to fail or you're going to succeed. That's all there is to it. There's no middle ground. And if you fail, you learn what you did wrong, and you pick yourself up and go try it again.
Yeah, and especially like doing stuff like this. I mean, that's why I look at this. It's like if I say something that upsets someone, and I was to lose this channel, I mean, it would suck because I put a lot of hard work into it.
Yeah.
But this is not my income. This does not affect my livelihood. You know?
Yeah, but it's different for you, right? Like I put no effort into my YouTube channel.
Well, reviews are not a lot of effort.
What?
If you see my reviews, there's not that much effort put into them.
No, but I mean, like, you know, when you're doing your slides for your thing, right? I do my slides, but they don't take me that long. I build my, you know, I put my YouTube thumbnail out there. I do all that, right? Your slides are involved. You go through and make sure you got all the news and everything else, right? I don't do any of that. So, like, there's still time that you're putting in, right? And so it's like you're also a year down, you know, invested. I get it, right? But like I'm not going to do that just because that's just not my thing, right?
Yeah.
That's all there is to it. It's just not my thing. If YouTube stopped today, I'd just be going, what the fuck am I going to watch now? Because that's all I watch pretty much now is YouTube.
Oh, yes. I was looking at some of my stuff. I was about to cancel CBS. Is that a Paramount?
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what? I haven't watched it in months. Of course, then I turn it on and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to watch this Lioness. Such a good show. If you have Paramount Plus, watch Lioness.
Lioness is on something else too.
I know it's been promoted on other things because obviously I'd seen it before.
Yeah.
And I wasn't watching CBS or Paramount or it's done by Taylor Sheridan, who does.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw the trailer for it.
But I thought it was all about the girl and like it's not. It's actually about a team.
Yeah.
It is so.
There's nothing wrong with the movie being all about Zoe Saldana, though.
Well, it's not a movie. It's a 10-part
or a show. I mean, but I'm just saying, there's nothing wrong.
10-part show. Oh yeah, but it's not about her. Like it makes it seem like, oh god, like we got to push the narrative of a female,
right? Yeah, I get,
sniper or whatever she is. But when you watch, it's like, oh no, this is. They build the characters so wonderful, and I know, you know, someone really liked that other show that was on.
Keep talking for a minute. I'm going to drop off and sneeze real quick.
Okay, the show that was on Amazon, where he got the idea from the Vanguard, and it was a decent show. You know, he's like an ex-Navy SEAL. But like this Lioness is just so much better than that show. I mean, it just kept me intrigued. I finished it in seriously, I think 3 days. I think it was 10 episodes. It's so good, so character driven, and like you feel for every single one of these characters. So yeah. Oh, look at this! And Matthew watched One Piece. Yes, One Piece. I finished that in 2 days, I think.
Yeah, I want to watch One Piece.
Yes.
My Netflix has been giving me a bunch of shit, so I probably got to uninstall it and reinstall it because every time I click on One Piece or anything, it like starts to play and then it turns off and it goes back to the home screen. I'm like, so.
One Piece is really good. So the Terminal List is the one that I was. Terminal List is fun.
Yeah,
it's fun, but the like Lioness, like they use in the one episode they have this. And you're like, you know, they have this whole thing.
Yeah.
With the drop down, and you're like, oh my god, that looks absolutely awesome. But again, like the way it makes it look, it's like one person that is the main person, and like that's what it's all about, and it's not. It's so character driven. It's so good. And yes, Amazon's Reacher is awesome.
Amazon's Reacher is good. He said Extraction. Extraction was good. I like 1 and 2 Extraction. Those are both good.
That's with
Chris
Thor.
Hemsworth.
Yeah. Beast Battleground did not like that.
So the first one was really good. The second one, I really enjoyed it for a movie, but like there were some parts in there that were a little over.
Yeah, I saw the first one. I didn't see the second one.
The second one's really good, but there's some parts in there that are just a little overdone. So
Yeah. But yeah, just if you want to watch a
But you
good
know,
show,
when you make a huge movie, it's hard to come back and do a sequel without having to do something that's bigger, right? So then you end up going
yes,
more extreme, and that usually ends up ruining the movies or making it less enjoyable.
agree 100%. Like, yeah, when you see some of those like Avenger movies, and it's kind of like, all right, Infinity War, awesome. You know, those like that 2-part series was awesome. The first Avengers,
Oh yeah,
like you can't expect every movie to be
yep,
that scale, but you become to think like that's what you start to think of, just like
yep,
our toys that we are
yep,
unfortunately
exactly.
constantly talking about. So I gotta mention something to you. So your show, what is your show's name?
Conversations from the Crick.
Okay, so when we were growing up, I don't like because I want to do these shows and I want to be about other people, but I've been meaning to talk to you about this. So when we were growing up, two of my friends, they lived where they lived, there was a creek, and we called it a creek, not a creek, and it would fog up, and it was literally their backyard. And when I first started hanging out with them, because they grew up there, I didn't grow up with them. This is high school. They talk about the creek monster. What the hell is this fucking creek monster? And like, dude, you'll hear like awful noises. Now, mind you, their yard wasn't that big, but they're like it fogged up so much you couldn't see it like right there. One day we decided we were going crick hunting. We were gonna find the crick monster. We had the day off of school. We had blow up boats, and we went down the creek. And we're going, and we're like looking for stuff. Now, mind you, we're going through a subdivision for the most part because it goes through the back, through the back of the
Yeah.
subdivision. We probably got like a mile down, and all of a sudden, I know I was in a boat with someone, and we went like these under like a bunch of like those hanging trees, and these fucking spiders started dropping, and we totally fucking freaked out. Ended up jumping out of the boat. Now, mind you, the creek is probably maybe 3 feet high. I mean, it wasn't over our heads. I mean, it wasn't over my head, so it wasn't that big.
Yeah.
We're freaking out, jumping out. There's four or five of us. We had like 3 boats. Fucking jump out. Fucking get out. We had popped all the fucking boats in the midst of it. So now we have to walk back to their house. We're all drenched. And we're just like walking with these like deflated boats, teenagers. And we're like, someone saw us and we're like, yeah, we went crick hunting. So every time I see your thing, I go back to that day because this was teenagers doing stupid stuff, having so much fun.
I've spent my entire life almost in the woods. There's nothing in any woods that I've ever been to that I'm afraid of, but there's shit out there that you don't want to run into. I'll just leave it at that. Okay. So I've seen some shit out in some deep woods that no one believes that it exists, but it does. So let's just leave it at that.
Well, this wasn't woods. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Fucking Jersey Devils in New Jersey. Come on.
They're just a crappy NHL team that played the trap and
right.
beat the Detroit Red Wings in 1995. Stupid trap. I know you're not a sports guy, but
so I don't. We've always called it crick here too. I don't. It's just the way it's always been said. No, I actually didn't even know that the word was spelled creek until I got older and learned how to spell it.
We've always used the word creek. They only referred to that one as the crick.
Really?
Yes.
That's weird. All of them around here are it's either a creek or a river.
I always refer to it as creek.
Or a babbling brook if it's really small.
But to me, the creek is that stream behind theirs, which probably still fogs up, probably still hear.
Some mornings I get up about, of course I get up every morning like 5:15, but some mornings I get up and actually head out to the creek early and sit out there in pretty dark, and it's completely foggy along the whole creek. It's awesome. I love it.
See, like when someone talks about like camping. No, I want running water. I want heat. I want air. I don't want to sleep on bumps on dirt and stuff and logs. Like that is not. I'm going to the dating sites and like I love going camping. Like you and I aren't gonna match, right? Not for me. If you like it,
bye, George. See you next Thursday.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not too much into camping anymore because, I mean, of course, where I lived and grew up, I mean, it's just I've always had lots of woods around me, so it's like I can walk out, I can go do a day hike and be gone for all day and not walk the same trail.
Yeah, Anthony, it's not about being a sissy. I just don't want to. It's not that I couldn't handle it. I just don't want to.
I mean, could I throw away my phone, my computer, where I live, and everything, and just walk out to the woods with a box of matches, a survival knife, and maybe a poncho and survive? I definitely could.
That I couldn't do.
But do I want to? I don't want to. No. I like opening up my fridge and grabbing a drink out of it, as opposed to filtering it through the creek water through the filter or something, right? But
I like my comfy.
And I yes.
My comfy bed.
Yeah. I don't sleep in a bed, so it doesn't matter to me.
When you sleep in that chair there?
No, I sleep in a different chair.
Do you really?
Yeah. Or on the couch.
Is there a reason?
Like many years ago when I was a kid, I fucked up my shoulder. I never did anything with it. It was a football injury. Went through the service, and now it has like arthritis, bursitis, and a torn tendon in it. And I refuse to get it fixed. So if I lay in a bed, I wake up and I can't move my arm. So if I lay on the couch or sleep in a chair, I don't sleep. You know what I mean? I'm more like in a couch. I'm kind of backed up against the back of it, so I have to stay in one position, or in a chair I'm sitting up. So otherwise, I roll too much, and then
my ex does the same thing because she's had like 4 back surgeries.
Yeah,
she has a lot of back issues, and she always said like.
And when I was heavy, it was really bad because like I had a lot of back pain when I was really heavy. So if you're not fat, don't get fat because it causes a lot of back problems. So that was another reason I slept sitting up most of the time, because I would have sleep apnea and I, had back problems in my shoulder. So it was like I got used to sleeping in a recliner, and now I just can't sleep in a bed. It's like I can't now, right? When I stay at a hotel, I like have all the pillows behind me, so I'm sitting up.
Wow. You ever think about getting a Tempur-Pedic bed? And
fuck that, I ain't paying that much money. I'll buy some pillows for $5.
Honestly, one of the best $5,000 I ever spent. I think it was around that. I
can sleep anywhere. Like I can fall asleep anywhere, right? Like I could go outside right now, lay down on the grass, and I could be out in 2 minutes if I wanted to be out. I have no problem falling asleep. I have no problem going to sleep. The problem is that I wake up after 3 hours of sleeping on a bed and in such agony of pain that I end up ruining my whole day. So
I can understand the sleeping anywhere, because let me tell you, there have been plenty of nights here.
Yeah.
Fuck, Oz is still on? It's like fucking 4 a.m.
Yeah, we on to 4, maybe 5.
Yeah, there have been more than enough time that I'm trying to do stuff here, and I'm like,
yeah.
And then I was like, I should go.
I got used. I mean, I've always been able to sleep, but like, I basically taught myself how to sleep anywhere. When I was in the service, we used to ride in the back of tanks, right? And we take our M16s and we prop them between our legs, and you always had your Kevlar helmet on, right? And it had a nice chin strap, so you could position your rifle barrel up underneath your helmet, so hold your head up, and you could just sit there and bounce along and just sleep. I mean, we didn't have any rounds, so we didn't have to worry about it going off, right? It's just training.
So, there are certain people that can't sleep while the car's in motion, which is crazy. And I used to work with the guy, and he was like that. So normally we would take his van because he got paid mileage. But let's say we went out of town or we went up north or a long drive, we would take one of the company vans. So if he ended up driving, so I would drive, and if I drove, he'd go in the back and like do cables because he just couldn't sleep. I'm like, why don't I just nap or anything? And he's like, I can't sleep if someone else is driving. And I go, well, I have no problem. And he's like, yeah, I fucking know. The vans didn't have reclining chairs, so you're up like this, which is not comfortable. I have found a way to position myself and the seatbelt so it would keep my head up so I wouldn't have a crick in my neck when I woke up. And I would be out before we hit the expressway.
Oh, yeah.
And he was like...
Ange, my ex-wife, is the same way. She cannot sleep in a car, especially, I mean, like, even if it stops, she can't sleep in a car. But if it's in motion, forget about it. So, like, when we used to go on trips and stuff, I'd start driving. She'd be like, okay, I'm going to try to sleep so I can drive later. I'm like, okay. I'd be like driving and I'd look over. She's wide awake. You see her close her eyes and she's like, got her eyes open. I'm like, can't sleep? She's like, no, I can't sleep. Then I was like, oh, I'm tired. I got to stop driving, I was like, but I'll stay awake and talk to you. Nah, I'm out 5 minutes later.
When we drove back from Florida, so not this time, but when I was with my ex, so the first time I drove straight through, I just drove straight through. And there was a section after we got into Michigan that I remember seeing a car. It was at night. I could see the lights. And it was way up there. And then I remember it was right there. And I'm like, holy fuck, I fell asleep. Like, I wasn't like, I mean, I was awake, but in that.
Yeah.
So I decided, like, all right, you know what? Because every time that I would say, like, hey, you know what? I'll pull over, you can drive. Once I get up and walk around, I'm good for another hour or so.
Yep.
So the next time when we drove back, this was shortly before we split up, I had her drive. And her driving scared the shit out of me. So I put a blanket over my head and I'm like, let me go to sleep. And if we fucking die, I won't even know. Because I'm scared shitless. And I was letting her drive, I think, through Tennessee, where there's a lot of the Kentucky and Tennessee. Where there's a lot of people. And I'm like, you know what? If I die, then I don't know.
Yep. I laughed. Ange and I took the kids down to Myrtle Beach a couple of years before we got divorced, like maybe 2 years before we got divorced. And I drove for part of we left early in the morning and I drove for most of the day. And then like 5 o'clock, we stopped, got out, had dinner, we were only, it's like a 15-hour drive. So she was like, oh, we're almost there. So why don't I just drive the rest of the way? I'm like, okay. So I got back in the car. I fell asleep. I wake up like an hour later and we're almost there, but she's on some highway. I wake up and look and she's doing like 95. I'm like, holy fuck. He's like, I'm just following this guy. I'm like, we're almost there already. It should have been like 3 hours. She's like, yeah. I was out though. I didn't know, man. So I was like, I had the same thought. I'm like, well, at least if I died, I wouldn't have known.
Yeah, I remember driving back from Florida in the Durango we had, and I was like, well, I know what speed Dodge trucks top out at. Let's see if this one does too.
Did you have the big Durango or the small one?
This was after the first model. So not the one that was based off of the Dakota body, but the one that was based off its own body.
The big one then.
Bigger, but it was considered a full size, but it was still not the full size like Tahoes and stuff.
Yeah.
And those things top out.
I had one of those too. I had a 2008.
I think that's what year we had too.
Yeah, because I had that body style, I think 06 to 2011 was that bigger body style.
Yeah, because
they had the small one, and then they had the bigger one, and then they went back to the smaller style body.
Yeah, because I had 04 Ram, and then we got the. Yeah. Was it in 06? No, it had to be in 08 because it would have been brand.
Did you have the Hemi in it though?
No, I only had the 4.7 liter.
Oh, mine had a 5.7 Hemi in it.
Well, I went from a Ram with the 5.7 liter to the 4.7 is a good engine, but I ain't gonna lie, I wanted the 5.7.
So you had the V6.
No.
Oh, it was still the V. It was a small V8, right? Without the Hemi.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
they didn't put the 6-cylinder in it. I don't.
Right. No, they didn't.
Because they had the 3.9.
They put the 6-cylinder in the Dodge Nitro.
Yeah, but that was a different one. That was like a 3.3. It was a smaller 6-cylinder.
Yep. It was a 3.7 liter because I had the Nitro.
Yeah, 3.7. That's what it was.
Yeah. That fucker had some balls to it, man. I always wanted to get the Nitro with the 5.7 Hemi in it, though, because that thing would have just fucking ate shit.
Yeah, I like my Dodge Journey has the 3.6 liter, which has like 285 horse. Now, if you get it in the Charger, it's like 315, something like that. And you're looking at like 285, and it's like when they remodeled the Camaros and the Firebirds in the early 90s, those only had 275. It is crazy what cars are pushing out. The original Viper had 400 horsepower. Now, don't get me wrong, the torque still makes it faster than. But you look at a stock V8 Charger or Challenger, I think they're running like 395.
Yeah.
Still not as fast as the Viper was because, again,
it's all in the gearing and the tranny and everything else.
Super light. Just had a giant engine in the front. A giant engine.
Well, that's what I say about like my Dodge Nitro with the 6-cylinder in it. It moved. I mean, I could move. So I couldn't imagine having that. And I could barely keep the rear tires underneath the car, even on taking off normally.
That 3.7, that engine didn't last long.
No, I blew it up. 120 miles.
Because they went from the 3.9, which was what my Dakota had.
Yep.
Then they went to they had the 3.8, which was that was a really good engine. They had the 3.7. They got dropped in some of the smaller ones, and then it was kind of gone. Then they got rid of that 3.8 and went right down to the 3.6, which actually had more horsepower, more power than the 3.8. But the 3.8 was still such a good engine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Dodge Caravan, I think, had the 3.6 in it. That was a good motor.
They had 3.8s, and now they have the 3.6s.
Yeah.
Most of them had the 3.8s because we had a minivan too.
It was probably I can't remember.
That thing moved. That thing moves pretty well for a minivan.
For a minivan, it certainly did.
And I don't care what anyone says. People can fight when I have in a minivan, but if you have small kids, there is nothing better.
Oh, dude, I loved it with the kids because Ange could get out of the front seat, go to the back, take care of the kids. Had plenty of room to pack all sorts of shit.
You press the button, the doors just open, automatically close. Kids, all those people like, I'm never going to get that. Like, all right, well, don't. But guess what?
Yeah.
It's the fucking best thing if you have small kids.
Yep.
If you want to lift your kids up and get them in your Tahoe and fight with them, go ahead. Yep. But you know what? Once you suck it up and you first have it, and you're like, yep, I have a minivan.
It was great. Now. We used to take the Caravan out to the Adirondacks, which is about a 5 to 6 hour drive, depending on where you're going, maybe 8, right? Depending on where we're staying in the Adirondacks. But like, it was great because one of the kids would get the front row, the shorter seat, to themselves.
Yeah.
And then the other two would be in the farther back one. And then they would just rotate, one of them would get it on the way there so they could lay down, have the whole seat to themselves. It was great. And there was still plenty of room, even in the back seat with the full back seat, that there was plenty of room for the two not messing with each other, So.
I mean, my Journey has a third row.
Yeah.
And now when I first got it, it was, I've had it about 6 or 7 years. So the kids were much smaller. And I've had the back seat down pretty much the whole time. It has a third row. When we went to Florida, when we went to the beach, my dad and his wife came with us. So Olivia had to sit in the back. They didn't even remember that it had a third row. And then she's kind of complaining, and she's like, well, I'm bigger than Andrew. I'm like, well, you're heavier than Andrew because she's all muscle, but he's taller than everyone now. Not that he's tall, but he's still taller. I'm like, I'm not making him sit in the back. I'm just not making him sit in the back. You can sit in the back there. But they had completely forgotten. And when I was lifting it up, I was out there by myself. This older guy comes by, and his wife had just walked by, and he was a grandparent. And he goes, you ever use that back seat? And I go, that's funny. I'm like, I'm pulling it out right now, and my kids didn't even remember that we had one.
Yeah, that's one thing I liked about the Caravan too. I had the stow and go seating, so I could just
Yeah.
fold the seating down. I could put like 10 sheets of full sheets of drywall, full sheets of plywood in there. Not have to worry about the rain getting on it. Nothing.
When they changed, that was a game changer. When they changed it, where you just lifted it up and it folded down rather
Yep.
than taking the seats out.
Oh yeah.
Because that's what my dad used to have to do with his. They take the
Yep.
seat out, and then he got the stow and go, and it was like, and that's what
The
we
first
had.
minivan we had, I had to slide the seats out, so I had to unlock them, pop them out, pull it
Yeah.
out. And, when
It
they
was like
slide right into the floor, beautiful.
just like when we were talking. So when you guys were talking about a door is ajar, door is ajar. So right before my mom passed away, she always wanted a red 4-door Lancer. So my dad bought one for her. It was like maybe a year before she passed away. I don't even think it was that. It was an 86. Oh no, it would have been, I guess, longer than that. It was an 86 Lancer. My mom died in 89. So, that's what when we're talking about, like the Lancer and the LeBaron, they both talked to you. They were the same car, except for the LeBaron also had a 2-door version. The Lancer didn't, but it had a sunroof. You could open up the sunroof, or you could take it off. So at times, my dad would take it off, which meant you stored it in the back. I could imagine someone taking a sunroof off. But I also look back at, I still think T-tops are one of the coolest things ever. But no one would want to use T-tops now but when you see the Firebird and the Camaro with T-tops, you're like, that is cooler than a convertible.
My uncle had a 78 Camaro. It was silver with the T-tops. And I thought that thing was the coolest car I'd ever seen in my life.
Yep. And the other thing I loved was the Corvette hardtop convertible.
Yeah.
I never liked the soft top, but it was something unique about it. Just like the T-tops, there was something unique about it. Just like the Viper, that it was unique that it didn't have windows.
Yep.
The original one. If it's raining, you put this crappy canvas top on with these.
Yep.
You just don't drive it in the rain. That's what they said at the dealership. They're like, you just don't drive it.
If you're driving a Viper in the rain, you either got stuck or you don't know any better.
When the Viper had first come out, they were testing all like the muscle and exotic cars, the American ones. Yeah. So they had the Corvette, the Camaro, the Mustang, Firebird, and the Viper, and they were driving it cross country. And they pretty much said, like, anywhere you stopped, people wanted to look at the Viper. They didn't care about anything else. And they had just got that the Ram Air Firebird, which was rated at 325 horse. But they're like, it had so much more horsepower, but they didn't want it to have more horsepower than the Corvette. But I remember reading this article, and they're like, so we're driving through the mountains cross country, and it starts fucking pouring. And it's just like, it's just pooling. And he's like, the guy that I'm driving with, we're like, it's going to take more time for us to get out, get this shitty fucking, get this thing on, because they said it took forever to get it to work. And then you got to put these, and we're sitting in water. And they're like, so we just decided to drive till, for a half hour while it rained until we were out of it. And I'm like, that would suck. You can't do anything. You can't just put it up.
No.
So
I was in a convertible. I think it wasn't a Vet. Maybe it was a Camaro. It was like a newer one, but and the top wouldn't come up, and we had to do that. We had to drive. We were like 35 minutes from home. It started raining. It was sprinkling. I was like, my buddy's like pushing the button, and we stopped, tried pulling it up, trying to get it to work. Wouldn't work. He's like, what do we do? I'm like, well, we're like half an hour, dude. Let's go fast. We got like 10 minutes from home, and it was just a downpour. I was like, shit.
Oh man.
What are you gonna do?
Luckily, I've never had to really deal with that.
I've seen, that's why they make like the Jeeps waterproof on the inside, mostly because people go with those hard tops. You can't take it with you. So if you're somewhere, what are you gonna do?
Yeah. That's so crazy. You take the doors off, the tops off. My dad has a Jeep too, so he's got a Jeep. He's got a 84 convertible Mustang. It's like it was custom made from the lady that she bought it from. So it's an LX, not a GT. So it has this ugly, ugly, like purplish interior, but it's a one of a kind because she had it custom made.
Yeah.
But my dad, like, he loves the car, and he got it super cheap because this lady died, and her mom was like, "Oh yeah, it needs this, it needs that." It didn't need anything. She just didn't drive it. So like the top's all ruined. The top's all ruined. It doesn't run. So he's like, all right, well, he picked it up sight unseen and got a Ford Taurus with it for like $3,200.
Jeez.
He tows it back there. His buddy works on Mustangs. Like, it was like 4 or 5 houses down. He's like, let's put a battery in it. Puts a battery in it. Thing fires right up. He said it starts spewing oil because the seals, but there was nothing wrong with it. He's like, well, let's see how bad the top is. He's like, we pull the top out. The lady had never driven it with the top up. She drove across country with her mom to Vegas. She's like, she didn't drive it when it was crappy out. So she didn't put the top up. Right. So when she passed away, the mom assumed that it was bad. Yeah. The only thing he had to do was stretch it out because it hadn't been stretched out in so long. But he's like, yeah. So I think he just had the top replaced last year. He's had it for like 10 plus years.
Jeez.
But it's really nice. But my dad, he doesn't fix cars. So he'll go to like car shows and he opens up the hood and I'm like, Dad, it's an embarrassment. Like, dude, spend some time on the weekend cleaning up the engine. Like yeah. People are looking at your car and then they walk over and you're like, I'm not with him. I'm not with him. You look just
easy to clean an engine now too. You just put some spray stuff in there, hose it off, let it dry out. You're good to go.
Oh yeah, it's just funny. Like I'm like, Dad, like, oh, don't open up the engine then. Like, if someone asks,
the hood down, Dad.
I didn't show you.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
So, anyway, I think we wrap it up here. I do want to say thank you very much. I know you and I, we've talked numerous times. We actually met in real life. I can actually call Ed a real life friend.
Yeah, that was a good time at PowerCon meeting you and having lunch with you.
Yeah, and I wish hopefully next year.
I still owe you a cardboard piece of pizza because you bought me one.
No, actually, I bought it for myself. I just wasn't going to finish it. And I let you eat it.
But it was still a cardboard piece of pizza.
Oh, it was. It wasn't the worst pizza I've had. But
no, it wasn't the worst, but
it's not going to fit on the top 10.
No.
And maybe one of the most expensive. You know, it actually wasn't. It was like a half a large pizza. You know.
Yeah, I mean, you got 2 good slices for sure.
Yeah, so. It just wasn't really good pizza.
No.
I'm a deep dish guy too. So.
Yeah.
Michigan, we're deep dish.
We're
New York, they have those really thin.
I like my pizza a little thicker, but
yeah,
we don't have New York style out here in Western New York. We have Buffalo style pizza, which is kind of a half breed between New York style and deep dish.
Yeah, we get that too. I think they call that Pizza Hut, right?
Yeah, we don't have Pizza Huts here anymore.
We'll be glad.
Yeah, we had them. Had them in a long time though.
Do you have Domino's?
Yep, but not close to us. I live in a small town. We have 6 pizzerias and none of them are chains.
Oh, wow. Speaking of Domino's, I know I said we're going to wrap it up. And
that's all right. I'm in no hurry.
Have you watched Dan Larson did a thing on what was that thing called? The Noid and how the Noid became a thing?
I didn't watch Dan Larson's thing, but I have a friend who got obsessed with the Noid when we were in high school when that first came out. And he has like 5 or 6 classic cars. And he has a I want to say it's a Model T or something like that car. And it's all done up with the Noid, and his license plate says VODNOD or something like Void the Noid.
He did something, it was a few months ago, and of course, Domino's originated in Michigan.
Yeah.
So of course, I mean, I like Dan Larson anyway, but so I watched it, and it was really interesting to hear how like the name Domino's came about and everything. And especially living here in Michigan, there's things you hear and you're like, oh, I had no idea about that.
Yeah.
But obviously, it was before I was born. He needs to do one on Domino's, or not on Domino's, on Little Squeezer's Pizza.
Yeah, we know there. If you go half an hour north to the suburbs of Buffalo, then you can get the Caesars and the Domino's and the Papa John's and all that. But
Yeah, if I spit, I'll probably hit 5 Little Caesars.
The pizza we get here that is from the local family-owned shops, good shit, man. And best chicken wings, So.
Yeah, we got some really good ones. But I know, like, a couple weeks ago, someone asked me about Jet's Pizza, and they're like, is Jet's really that good? I'm like, it's the best chain pizza you're going to have. Now, it's based out of Michigan, but it's that good. I mean, it's for chain
Domino's.
pizza.
Domino's is hit or miss, right? I mean, like, I've ordered from Domino's and really enjoyed it in different places, right? Like when I'm out traveling or whatever, right? And then I've ordered from Domino's and I fucking hated it. So, I mean, it's like, I think it all depends on, what they got going on and who's cooking and how it's prepared and everything else, right?
Do you guys have Hungry Howie's out there?
No.
So
it was that way with Pizza Hut when Pizza Hut was here. We had 2 Pizza Huts that were close by, and one was always really good for Pizza Hut, good for Pizza Hut, and one you wouldn't want to take your dog to. So
so Hungry Howie's, they were known for their flavored crust. They had different flavor crust. And I know they're a Michigan chain, but it was like, it wasn't about like, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. It was like, that location is good, that location is awful.
Yeah, that's how the Pizza Huts were here, right? There was like one location was good, one location was horrible.
Yeah. So. But the locations that were good, it was like, this is so good, you want to have it all the time. Then you get the bad one, and you're like, I'm never eating this shit again.
Yeah.
But then the garlic crust, you're like, I got to have garlic crust.
Yeah. I like garlic crust.
So, but okay, so I do want to say, let's wrap it up. What do you have going on? Tell everyone where they can find you.
What do I have going on? I don't have anything planned except for my show every Tuesday night at 8:30 on my channel. And then, of course, you can find me on Instagram under the same name as on screen. I'll probably be on Oz's show Saturday, more than likely, if he has a show. But other than that, I don't have anything planned right now.
And how do you pronounce your name for everyone?
Akxion Figs, just like action. It's just like a fun way to spell action.
It really did confuse people because people are like,
oh, Action? I know it did.
I made sure. I mean, if you screw up my name, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
And I don't want you as. I want you.
Yeah. Actually, what's funny is I had a couple of people that I had talked to that were saying my name, and they're saying it just fine. And then Laser Pants started reading my name wrong on a couple of chats, and then everybody just started saying it wrong.
So there's a professional skateboarder, and I've always called him Jeff Rowley, right? He's a foreigner. Everyone, I've never heard his name not pronounced Jeff Rowley. Rowley.
Yeah.
And then they had him on the show that I watched. They do something like this, but they're popular. All skateboarding, and they're like, how do you pronounce your name? And he kind of laughed and he's like, it's really Jeff Rowley, but everyone says Rowley and whatever. I don't really care. And I hear other people still say it. And I just remember going, listen, foreigner, your fucking name is Rowley. Look how it's spelled. And I'm looking at it. I'm like, Rowly. Yeah, it is Rowley, actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like,
when I was in the service, my best friend, his last name was Hebbard, which was Hebbard. But everybody, like all the sergeants and stuff, in the service, you call everybody their last name most of the time, right? So all the sergeants and stuff always called him Hubbard. So I always was just going along with it, right? And then, we got to become really good friends. So I started calling him Doug, which was his first name. But then when we were out like in the field and stuff, I'd be like, hey, Hub. And he's like, why do you call me Hub? I was like, that's your last name, Hubbard. And he's like, nobody says my last name right. It's Hubbard, not Hubbard. I'm like, oh, all right, Doug.
Random.
Oh, he called you out, dude. Yeah, man.
I did that
because of digital diarrhea.
Because of digital diarrhea.
Yep.
Right here. I just saw it, and I cannot look at your name and not say random diarrhea anymore. I see it. That is how it comes off in my head.
Blame. So the easiest thing to do is just call him Rad now. That's his nickname. Rad.
Yeah, but I like random diarrhea now because it's kind of how I feel in my life nowadays. I don't know when it's coming. It's usually after pizza. Yeah. Definitely after Thai food.
Taco Bell.
Oh, yeah, Taco Bell for sure.
Yeah.
But not always, sometimes. Yeah.
I see Mr. Wonderful is still Mr. Wonderful, so he must not want to take over his sainthood. So
yeah, I know. Saint Wonderful is way cooler.
I
Besides,
know.
How can you be Mr. Wonderful, be a professional wrestler, be into professional wrestling, and say it's not based off Mr. Wonderful? Right. What the hell is that?
Plus, think about this, right? Presenting Hexastack by Saint Wonderful. That is amazing.
You know what? I think it's
how you can have like a light glow above your head and everything. It'd be
they have a fucking halo that glows.
Right.
Look, we are selling
a halo in the shape of a hexagon too. There you go, Travis. You can have that one free of charge.
Look at that. This is what we're doing. We are brainstorming for you, for your Hexastack, your Hexa Halo.
That's right.
Look at that. It all works. Wonderful. Saint Wonderful's Hexa Halo. All right. Well, we're going to wrap it up. Again, thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks. I had a good time.
I love talking to you.
Yeah, it's always a good time to talk.
You're one of the people that I reach out to. You know this when I want an honest opinion about my show, anything like that, I reach out to you because I know you're going to give me an honest opinion.
I'll tell you if you suck.
Yeah, a lot of people are yes men and they just want to say, "Oh, it was great, it was great." Like, you're not helping me.
Travis does the same thing. Hey, what do you think about this? It sucks. Or no, that's going to be awesome. Looks good. No, it doesn't.
Wait, I still see it, and I just howl at.
What do you say?
It would tongue tie me every time, and every time I see it, I think of Wolverine.
Does Wade pronounce it Howlitzson?
I believe so, but I would always screw it up. I would always screw it up. There's a few names that I completely obliterate, and I think it's just
when I was in the service, we had this guy, right, when I was in training, and when you're in training, they will find anything. Well, back then they did. They would find anything they could possibly find to pick on you about, right? So we had this guy who was from the Philippines, and his last name was Phux. Now, he pronounced it Fuchs, but everybody else pronounced it Fucks. And that poor guy, I mean, I can't believe that he made it through basic training without crying because they just beat him up for his name.
See, I'm trying to spell my ex's name, and I can't fucking spell it because...
It's simple. The name is THE''EX. That's it. Or hyphen, dash, whatever you want to call it. Look at this awesome hella dope mug I got.
Look at that.
Isn't that a nice mug?
All right, so this is my ex's last name, I think.
Kamieniecki?
Hold on. Kamieniecki. Yes. Kamieniecki.
Kamieniecki? Yeah.
I feel like I spelled it wrong. I feel like I spelled
it was a good try.
So she would say when she would say like what her name is and who her brother is that he played baseball. People would say, "Your brother's not Ken Caminiti," and she'd be like, "Yeah, I know. That's not the fucking name." I believe it is Ukrainian or Polish. Um, yeah, so her daughter has that name. And I remember when, because we were never married for good reasons, her friend had asked me when she was pregnant with Andrew, well, what last name is he going to have? And I looked at her and I said, mine. And she went, oh, I'm sorry. I'm like, I didn't even know this was a discussion. And then I talked to my ex, and she's like, I think it's just because of Emily. She's like, I never said anything because I always assumed he,
Yep.
I don't remember if we knew if it was going to be a boy or a girl at that point. But I was like,
this is no offense to anybody, right? But if you're the father and you're planning on being in the kid's life, then he should have your last name, right?
I
Whether
agree
you're married or not. If you're going to be in the kid's life, that's just the way it should be.
No, I agree 100%, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know if there's a reason for it or
I don't have any reason for it. I just think that's the way it should be. But that's probably because I'm old and that's the way we've always done things. So.
No, I agree. And again, like for her daughter, like she's never met her real dad. So
right. Yep.
There's no reason for her to have
exactly.
whatever his last name is.
I mean, truthfully, if I could go back and change my last name to my real dad's name, I probably would. But then I'd feel like I'm disrespecting the guy that actually raised me, So it's like one of those things.
Again, for you, that's kind of difficult. Like, you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't with that.
Yeah.
Because you said, like, you didn't know your dad. And it's not, but at the same time, he didn't run off on you.
Right.
It's not like there's a reason. I had a buddy that he changed his name. I always knew him as Ryan Lambert. Well, I didn't realize that he really had no connection with his father. And when he was old enough, he changed his name to be his grandmother's last name and his grandmother's aunt because they're the ones that raised him.
Yeah.
And his wife was like, I begged him before we got married to change his name because their last name is Van Turnout. And she's like, I wanted to be Lambert. It was easier. It just sounded better. And it's funny because, like, so many people refer to him as Van Turnout, and I was like, who the fuck are you talking about? And I didn't realize that he had changed his name.
Yeah. There's a girl that I know, used to date her sister, but their last name was Biggie, Biggie. That was their last name, right? And the girl I dated never cared about it, but the older sister always hated that as a last name because they always got picked on, Biggie butt, Biggie boobs, Biggie whatever, right? In high school, right? And it's a young kid, right? But then she went to get married, and the guy she married's last name was Christian, and her first name was already Christine. So she was like, now I'm going to be Christine Christian or Christine Biggie my whole life. What choice do I have? It's like, you can pick something else completely, entirely different. Other than that, I guess you're fucked.
We went to school with a girl that her last name was Seaman.
Oh, yeah.
And I will never forget, she lived in the apartments by me, but we didn't go to, she wasn't in there in elementary school. So in middle school, she moves in, and I had met her because she lived in the area, and it was like 7th grade. So I didn't really know what her last name was. And I just remember she was in, I think, the homeroom or first class or whatever. She's new, like I've met her and some of the other kids in the neighborhood, but we're in middle school. And I just remember the teacher going, Angela Seaman, and everyone went. She went.
Yeah. And so it begins.
Yeah, you're 7th grade. Honestly, and I never teased her about it. But I was friends with her, But I mean, I heard the Larry Ferry. Wow, that's real original. Yeah. What? Does that bother you?
When I was in school, I had these two guys were really good friends of mine, and their last name was Kless, right? Now, I'd been friends with them for a long time, and then finally, after like maybe our senior year of high school, I went over to their house because they were opening up their dad had bought them, because the one brother that was older than us, he bought them like a car business, right, to fix cars and sell them. And so I go there and I'm meeting the dad, and the dad's name is Dick. Right. And it didn't dawn on me till a little while later. I'm sitting there going, Dick Kless, that's your parents must have hated you to name you Dick Kless.
We had these twins in high school. They were both jocks, but like they were like popular guys. Super nice guys. And the names were Jack and Harry. And it was just like, really? Like, their parents were foreign, but it's like, really? Like I used to say, like, I want to name my kid Chewbacca. It'd be fucking awesome for me. Either he'd get his ass beat all the time, which my son would have, or he'd be the baddest motherfucker in the world.
Yep.
No girl I ever dated thought that was a good idea.
Yeah.
One name him Chewbacca. They call him Chewie for short. Like, no.
Yeah. My friend had the same problem. His last name is Wood, and when he always wanted to name his daughter Holly, and all the girls that he dated, and then finally his wife were like, "Ain't no fucking way we're naming him Hollywood." I got the name Caleb, or my son Luke, so I guess I won that battle. She wouldn't let me name him Aragorn, so I had to go with something else.
But Luke isn't like crazy, you know. That's all right. Well, you know what? We did say goodbye like 3 times.
Yeah, a couple hours ago.
Largo's trying to get to bed. Although I saw Largo go for 3 hours with you. Anyway, thank you very much. I do appreciate it. If you haven't followed Ed yet, Action Figs, do it now. Again, he's easy to find once you figure out how to spell his name. Yep. Or just go to my YouTube or on my Instagram. You'll see him. I mean, it's not that hard to find someone. Yeah. So. Anyway, thank you guys all for showing up.
Thanks, Lawrence. Thanks, everybody.
We will see you next Monday, Monday Night Toy Ramblings, where I'll say, I probably can't go for 3 hours, and Ed will go, shut up.
That's right.
All right, you guys have a wonderful night.